Hello, everyone. My name is Cutie, and welcome to Perilous Paths. Absolutely packed schedule today, so much so that we're going to speed through some stuff. But first, we've got a bit of an announcement to make around the show. Now, as you know, we focus on Soulslikes, Roguelikes, and Metroidvanias. But since Perilous Paths is not going anywhere anytime soon, we decided to add a catch-all category that will give us a little bit more flexibility, and that is going to be and other adventurous speedruns. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means if you think of a game or a category and you think it fits something called Perilous Paths, it probably officially now does. So, for example, nonlinear open world games, think Assassin's Creed, think Mega Man, think Shovel Knight, different things that have paths. If you can think of action adventure games like with a particular emphasis on challenging combat or gameplay. So a Devil May Cry, a Ninja Gaiden, Nier Automata. You can think of traditional adventure games like Shadow of the Colossus, Prince of Persia, even Indiana Jones, Uncharted, something like that. And of course, platformers or other things that have an emphasis on traps, combat, and stuff like that. So Shovel Knight, Super Meat Boy, Ghost Runner, Mirror's Edge, take your pick. And then, of course, anything else that might or might not fit this category of show. That's going to give us an opportunity to showcase a lot of variety, a lot of different runners. But don't worry, if you're here for the big three, the Soulslikes, the Roguelikes, and the Metroidvanias, that's still going to be our bread and butter. This is just giving us a little bit more playroom as we expand the show and stick around for the foreseeable future. But with that covered, let's talk about today's show. And speaking of sort of open-ended games, we're going to have two different Zeldas. First up, we're going to have Echoes of Wisdom with Lunatic J, followed by Nine Souls, any percent restricted. If you haven't been following kind of the indie Metroidvania scene, this one has been getting a lot of love over the last couple of years. And then lastly, Breath of the Wild, any percent normal. If you haven't seen that, is glitch heavy, is super fun. We fly through the air. At least I think that's the route we're doing. So lots to see, lots of fun things. Stick around for that. But like I said, we're packed, so let's move right into the runs today. So we've got first up, Echoes of Wisdom, any percent unrestricted, new game for Switch with Lunatic J. Lunatic, how are you doing today?
I'm doing quite well this Monday evening, feeling quite hyped up for this incredibly perilous run.
Working the name in there, I love it. So why don't you give us a quick introduction about yourself, about the game, maybe what we can expect to see, and then whenever you're ready, give us a 3, 2, 1 countdown, and we'll just get right into it.
Alright, so this is Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. This is specifically version 1.0.1 of the game, which is not the most recent update, but this is like an older update that is going to be key to one of the glitches in this run. This is the latest Zelda game that just released back in September, I believe. Either September or October. And it's massively broken. This game got completely broken in a week. Within a week, people beat this game in under an hour. And then after that, it got so broken that any percent unrestricted as we know it is nearly solved. You might have seen any percent restricted at GDQ back in January when Glubbers was running restricted. So we'll get more into what the difference between is restricted and unrestricted. This is unrestricted's debut on a GDQ hotfix. Every single like GDQ marathon, online marathon hotfix has all been either like all dungeons, glitchless, or restricted any percent. So you're going to get a bit of a taste of what makes unrestricted quite special and why we've given ourselves like a bit of a generous estimate. But without further ado, let's get a countdown. 3, 2, 1, go.
Good luck, have fun. I'm excited for this.
All right, yep. So if you don't know who I am, I'm Lunatic J. I'm primarily known for being a speedrunning YouTuber. I've done like speedrunning, casually, not really competitively. But this is like the first game where I got into like upon release and got competitive enough to make GDQ backup. So I'm pretty confident in putting on a good show as my hotfix and GDQ run debut for y'all. So the beginning of this run, we're going to start off with, the character we play in most Zelda games, Link. We're equipped with our sword, our bow, our bombs, and we're very powerful. We have a full row, 2 rolls, in fact, of hearts, 20 hearts. We're about to approach, like, the end of the adventure, so to speak. Think of, like, the beginning of Super Mario RPG, in a way, where Mario's, like, about to enter Bowser's Keep. But unlike most 2D Zelda games, we actually have a jump button. This game combines like 2D Zelda with like some Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom elements with jumping. This is a pretty optimized section of the run with the Link section. We just run past the Dark Nuts. So we got a nice little bit of gameplay before we get into playing as the true main character of the game, Zelda. A bit of spoilers ahead, but we got like a clean first few rooms, just charge up the sword, take out 3 Dark Nuts at once. It's a pretty simple, and I'm hoping to have like a smooth textbook opening, because the run gets pretty tough later, because as you could expect with me being able to beat this in like under an hour, that we're gonna do a massive, massive glitch to skip most of the game. And you'll see the first bit of challenging gameplay up ahead, because we got like the first little boss coming up. And it's going to be like the first boss that we're going to see in a long time. Like there's only like another boss in this run. So this is a very blink and you miss it. Right at the start of the fight, I just drop a bomb chew, which you can just hold the A to charge a bomb. And that just gets through that phase again. Throw 3 bombs over here. Shoot for arrow to make the explosions go faster. And now that's like the second out of third phase again and already done. So now we're going to face the same direction, throw 2 bombs, shoot the arrow, face the other way. And we got a textbook Ganon fight. That is as good as you can get with Ganon. And that is the Link section done. We beat Ganon, day is saved, right? Well, not exactly. Because this game is called The Legend of Zelda, Echoes of Wisdom. Emphasis on Zelda, since she's the true main character's game. And Link is going to be out of commission for about, I want to say, like a good 25, 30 minutes, I'd like to say. He'll be back. He's just taking a bit of a timeout right now. But I should actually go into more in depth about, like, the run itself. So, the beginning of this run is admittedly a bit slow. You have to go through this mandatory section, like escape sequence and a bunch of cutscenes afterwards before we get the main item of the game known as the Tri-Rod. The Tri-Rod is the main gimmick of this game, which will be able to copy glowing objects known as echoes. And we can use echoes to place them down, like beds. You've probably seen people stack beds on top of each other. You're going to see quite a bit of that in this run, too, don't worry. And you have a limited amount of them. What's going to be interesting about this run is we're going to be tackling this game and its endgame gauntlet with, like, the bare minimum possible. So, like I mentioned before, Glubbers ran this game at GDQ, and he ran any % restricted, which goes upon, like, the first initial route of the game when wrong warping was first discovered, except with some slight modifications where you complete the first dungeon, and then you wrong warp towards the end. In this route, we're going to skip the first dungeon, except for, like, the first room. But we'll get there when we get there. Right now, we just got a very basic escape sequence. I always count the rows to know which one to go on. So this is, like, a pretty textbook, pretty optimal opening. And then we got, like, a lot of downtime, in which I can probably talk more about, like, the history of some of the discoveries. Because this game stood strong as, like, being, you know, oh, super linear, glitchless, like 4 hours minimum maybe of a run, and then within a few days to a week it gets brought down to an hour because of the sign echo, which you'll see later, which is responsible for wrong warps. And thanks to community, like a wide community effort, data miners, just in the first week of this game's release, game gets blown wide open. Next week, we have the unrestricted route as we know it now. And what really separates restricted and unrestricted is one particular trick that is a bit inconsistent for a marathon setting, but it is, like, still pretty neat. And I hope to get it, like, first try to make it a really good showcase. If not, it's not a big deal. We got a pretty generous estimate. The next few bits are going to be pretty just mashy with, like, text boxes. I guess one thing I will mention before I can let you, like, mention announcement is this game's opening is just really long. Like, we're about at, like, the 5-minute mark, I'd like to say. Yeah. nearly 6 minutes. We're not going to get any substantial gameplay a little bit until like around the 11-minute mark. So recently, the communities, open up a poll for like potentially allowing an intro skip, trying to like judge what's a good balance of gameplay, like how much of the intro should be skipped. Should we allow like playing the Link section and then immediately skipping towards when we get the Tri-Rod? It's still like ongoing debate, so we won't know the results for a couple weeks, but I thought I'd just mention that. But with that in mind, go ahead and give us... we got like quite a bit of downtime. It's just a bunch of text mashing until we get the Tri-Rod.
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to let everyone know that Summer Games Done Quick 2025 will be live in Minneapolis from July 6th to 13th. Now, if you're interested in submitting a game for consideration, I believe that is still open until midnight Eastern or 9 p.m. Pacific for some of us. And so you do still have just a bit of time if you've been procrastinating. But if you'd like to volunteer, you can also submit your applications by March 31st, which is, as I mentioned today, or you can register to attend the event by May 26th. You can use !SGDQ in Twitch chat or visit gamesdonequick.com for more information there. And speaking of submitting runs, since we did just update the Perilous Paths theming, if you have any runs, friends, communities, anything like that you think might fit the new expanded definition of Perilous Paths, do consider submitting that for the show on the Games Done Quick Hotfix website, or if you want to submit for any other shows, feel free to do that too.
Alright, so now we're just getting through some exposition dialogue about like the weird rifts that are opening around Hyrule, the one that consumed Ganon, the one that consumed Link. And right here, we're going to see something very important in this cutscene. Take notes, chat. So right here, we see this couple walking by, a guy and his wife. That's a wife, he falls into the rift. Keep that in mind for the next 15 or so minutes. She's going to become very important and very clutch very soon.
Now, you mentioned how this game was broken super early on. Did Nintendo ever do any patches or anything that affected the run over the subsequent months?
Yes. So there's 3 different versions of the game. There's version 1.0.0, which is only available with the cartridge version of the game, which has some advantages in categories like all dungeons and any % restricted. And then on digital... like a day 1 update was version 1.0.1, which is the version I have. This is the one that I downloaded from the eShop on launch day and preloaded. And then after a lot of the skips got discovered, like about 3 weeks in or a month in, was when they released version 1.0.2, which basically patched all the glitches that were, published online. It's because there really is only like one massive glitch in the game that's used in all categories, which is, related to menu storage and wrong warping, which we'll get into later. And this version is specifically faster for any % unrestricted due to the route that we use, because we do a void out on the ceiling of the map, and that ceiling is lower on version 1.0.1 versus 1.0.0. But 1.0.0 has certain skips that are faster for other categories. So if you want to speedrun this game, you gotta either get like a physical cartridge and turn off automatic updates before you insert that game cartridge in, hopefully. Or if you want to run this category for who knows what reason, like why, you got to ask a friend who knows another friend who knows another friend who has version 1.0.1 on the Switch to match the version with the cartridge and updates turned off. That's the only way that you can legally get this version without updating to the latest version. I just still have this because I have auto updates turned off, which is something every speedrunner or want to be speedrunner should do for their Switch as soon as a new game is announced. So right now, we're in prison because the real king and minister and captain of the guard is just thrown into the rift and they replace him with imposters, so we're now blamed for the incident. And we're kind of trapped. We got nothing to do until our execution date, unless this little orb thing named Try helps us out of this little pinch. And now we're going to get into real gameplay, finally. We get the Tri-Rod right here. And it's going to be the main... It really sets the Zelda game apart and makes it really creative. One of the cool things that people were looking forward to this game is just seeing like the different echoes you can get from here. Such as this table. And actually, this table is the only echo you need to beat the game with. When you're using glitches, of course. That's actually its own separate category extension known as table percent. And it's one of the hardest category extensions in the game because it makes the final boss really, really hard. And we're going to use it to great effect for this escape sequence. Now, the timing is kind of tight. We got to make, like, a guard cycle later on. So hopefully I don't get caught because that would lose me, like, a little bit of time. And that would be kind of embarrassing because this is, like, a really cool culmination of optimization. So we place a table here. Ideally, I want to jump on it while I'm still moving like that. Okay, got saw by the guard, but I can make it get caught behind the box so it doesn't come rounding after me. Before here, there was like a setup where you would put a staircase and hope you don't get caught by the guard, but you could just place a table down, place a table down, and we're able to sneak by this guard on the fastest cycle pretty easily. It's actually disgustingly easy for how tight that looks. Considering that there was like much harder setups to make the faster cycle that were way, way more tight, involving making like a triple staircase and jumping in front of a guard and hoping you don't get caught. But this way is just way faster and way more consistent. But it's pretty satisfying to see in action and to learn. But now we're just getting a little bit more of a cutscene before we get an opportunity to get even more echoes that are going to be used in the run. And I'm going to be going over why each one is important, because they might seem kind of useless at first, but each echo that I give has a purpose. It's especially important to have just the necessary amount of echoes, because the way that echoes are laid out in this game is like it's a giant menu, kind of like Breath of the Wild where it scrolls through. But the sorting isn't necessarily the best. So when you're playing this game casually, you probably have like a long list of echoes that you're scrolling through and struggling to sort through because there's dozens of them. In this one, we don't have much of a problem, and it's actually interesting how everything's optimized. So we're getting into some really interesting movement parts of the run other than just the table, because we're going to get access to the spin, which will allow us to have much more faster overworld movement, as well as some echoes in this first room that will aid in our movement.
And what language are you playing in? It looks like it might be German.
You are correct. I have yet to mention what language I'm playing because I'll get into why it's faster in a bit. Because right now it's just scrolling by fast. There's a lot of Switch games that specifically have German as the fastest language. Like I know Link's Awakening remake does, as well as like Pikmin 3 and 4. I think Pikmin 3 and 4 are like tied with simplified Chinese. But one of the reasons why is when we get a checkpoint, like a warp point, we get one text box instead of two text boxes like in every other language. Right there, I just captured the shrub, which allowed me to spawn a shrub. That's going to be very important for the glitch later on. I'm skipping placing down the tables. Ooh, that was a tight jump. And now we get everyone's favorite echoes, the bed. Ooh. Suddenly forgot how to menu there. And the bed's going to be very, very important. Just really good for making staircases all around. And we're going to see clever use of this in this little 2D underwater section here. So hopefully... didn't get it down while I was still moving. I'm going to push this boulder. I'm going to copy a boulder later just for a safety strat. Some people will get the boulder there. I'd like to get the boulder later because it's better for gold splits. But here's a cool little trick. Instead of using the boulder and taking time to copy that echo, we could just build a bed staircase, drop a bed from a high enough height, and it's enough to break the box without needing to waste time getting the boulder echo. So already you can see like a little bit of creativity with the beds and like how echoes are used. And that's just a little glimpse of what's to come later in the run, of how echoes can be used creatively. Because that's one of my favorite things, even in the shorter category, of how clever we make use of some of these echoes. Because even in early game, we get access to so many useful ones. And that is that's the end of the escape sequence. So now we're finally going to get access to the overworld, and the run is really, really going to start picking up, aside from like a few cutscenes. I see your chat going like menu boss, worse boss. I don't blame you. The menus could be a lot better in this game, admittedly. But I'm not upset about the menu, because the menu is going to come in very clutch with a trick very soon. But for now, our main objective, now that we've escaped, is we're going to get a couple echoes on the way to the first dungeon, and we're going to enter the first dungeon, which is in the Stilled World, the world inside of the Rift. There we get like a cute little cutscene of our first encounter with a monster as Zelda. This is a Zol. It's like, you know, a classic monster from Zelda 1. Try ask us if we can fight monsters, and I say no, I'm gonna run away because it's faster. But I'm no coward. I'm just wise. Oop, didn't mean to put a bed there. I gotta be fast here. Oh wow, I'm surprised it saw me. That hasn't happened in a long time. I guess it was just kind of the weird movement I had here. And I got the green rupee. It's kind of random whether you'll get the green rupee or not in runs and get a little bit of, like, 2 seconds time save. But I guess I didn't get that free time save. Oh well. So I got the sea urchin. The sea urchin is going to be the primary combative echo that we get. Because, as you can see, there's 3 triangles following our companion Tri. Those 3 triangles represent our summoning power. So at most, we can summon 3 level 1 summons in the game. And thankfully, all the echoes that we get in this run are going to be level 1 summons. This is just a good way of balancing the game so we don't get, like, abuse really powerful summons like the Lionel, which cost, you know, 5 at the beginning to just tear through things. So we're going to be very, very creative with what little powerful ones we have. And such as the sign. This sign is also a level 1 summon, but it seems kind of useless, because why would you need to copy a sign that doesn't really say anything useful? But in reality, it's actually the most powerful echo in the game, and you'll see why in a bit. I know I've been saying that a lot, but also that was an example of one text box being faster because we're playing on German. So we got, I think, all the echoes we need leading up to the first dungeon. So now we're just getting through a little bit of movement and cutscenes before we go to, like, the first other trick of the game. So this would be a good time to actually, for another announcement.
Sure. Last time we talked about upcoming events, but do remember we have events year-round, so if you have missed out on any of our hotfix shows like this one, or events like Back to Black and Frost Fatales, which happened in the last couple of months, you can always check out the VODs on youtube.com/gamesdonequick, and you can also join the official GDQ Discord and add the hotfix role, which will let you keep tabs on upcoming events, talk with staff, and more. And so you can use !Discord and Twitch chat to get that information. I'll throw that into chat now for everybody.
Alright, I got that checkpoint in front of the first dungeon. The first one waypoint we got was actually required. We couldn't get past anywhere else in the game until we get that waypoint, just to give us that tutorial. And this one we're going to need because we're going to come back here after we warp out later on. Waypoints are going to be paramount for the big glitch in the run, as you'll see later. I hope I do a good job explaining how it all works. Because the first dungeon is in the Stilled World, and you're not going to see too much of it, admittedly. But we are approaching, like, a neat little trick. Just this little small time save. Alright, so remember in, like, those beginning cutscenes where I told you to look at, like, a couple just walking down the path until the wife, like, just falls into the rift? Do you remember that, Twitch chat? You took your notes, right? Good. Because she's gonna come in very, very clutch soon. Because she just happens to be right here next to this cave entrance. And this cave is just like a little mini dungeon puzzle where you got, like, a switch puzzle and a combat room. But we're going to skip all that because we're going to not fail at making a staircase. We're going to jump on some guy's wife, and we're going to make a bed staircase from her, and that is wife skip, or wife jump. And with that, we skip that little bit before the first dungeon, and we can just directly enter. Now, there's a really interesting story about wife jump. Wife jump was a term coined by a glitch hunter named Ninpalk, but someone in the community, I believe it might have been Glubbers, he said that in the game's files, that character's name is actually literally called Wife. And the whole community ate it up. I ate it up too. Only for it to be revealed that it was just completely made up and that character is not called Wife in the game's code, as disappointing as it is. So now I got that little funny story out of the way. We talked to this boulder to get an ability known as Bind, and we're just going to teleport out. That's all we need from the first dungeon of this game. We have all the tools necessary to beat the game right now. And if you thought building bed staircases was kind of nuts, wait until you see what we got here. This is an infestation. We got to get rid of these pests. Now that we do, we're going to have some fun. We're going to do a bit of a complicated setups with some trampolines and these boulders. And we're going to build a staircase to the heavens. Or in this case, we're going to build the Pokemon Sudowoodo. And you might be asking, why Sudowoodo? Well, it is a rock-type Pokemon that looks like a tree. And we're going to use these boulders as well as the tree echoes we got in the castle dungeon. And also grapple with this game's amazing targeting system. Come on. We're going to place these boulders in very specific positions. I'm going to copy the boulder for a safety strat. Not necessarily needed for this route, but might make things easier. And we're going to do an elaborate setup, place a couple trampolines down. We're going to get the shrub out, place another one done, place a bed, get another shrub out, move it a little bit over here, move the bed over here, so that when it disappears... Okay, get the tree ready, and then at the bottom of the trampoline, we're getting close to the height limit of the game. Now that we're pretty high up, we're going to move this on top of the boulders, and then we're going to place that sign down. And we got a bit of a 2-frame trick, or a nearly frame-perfect trick. If I mess this up, I have to do it all over again. But I know the setup pretty well, and then let's see if I get it. Okay, good, nice. Alright, so this is map storage, which allows us to store 2 instances of a map at once. So with the first map open, I selected a warp point, and then I let go of the quick menu, pressed the map again, and just did a random warp. And we got the random warp first try! This is like the inconsistent strat that makes this route kind of marathon unsafe slightly. It's a higher chance that it works first try than it doesn't, but it has a chance of not warping you anywhere at all, warping you somewhere not useful, or even crashing the game. So very nice, we got that first try. I'm kind of flustered. I'm putting the trampolines in wrong places. Goodness, I was not expecting to get that first try somewhat cleanly too. But this is known as a random wrong warp. So at the beginning of the game, there was like a rift that was blocking our path, and it wouldn't allow us to get past until we beat the first dungeon. So this is a random wrong warp that allows us to escape that beginning area of the open world, so we don't have to beat the first dungeon at all. And this is the separation between unrestricted and restricted. Unrestricted allows this, but because of its inconsistency and tendency to crash the game, it makes it like a really brutal category to grind because it is somewhat luck-based, which is why there's a category split between restricted and unrestricted. Restricted requiring you to, you know, beat the first dungeon, and this one, anything goes. And now we're going to set this up again. I'll go in more detail of how this works after this time, because the first one was just, oh, we get like a map storage, and we do like 2 warps, and this one is going to be a bit different. Okay. Failing this is less punishing, because if I failed that other one, I would have to build that giant tower again, which would have cost a minute. But here, it's a little bit less punishing. I just have to get back on top of these trees. I was originally going to have like a co-commentator for this, but they couldn't make it, so I'm kind of carrying the explanation myself, so I'm sorry if it doesn't make too much sense right now. Okay, we got the map open, and we're going to hold the menu, because we need to maintain the screen storage state through the warp. So how this works is by pausing and opening up a menu when you're being voided out, like a void out zone, whether it be the ceiling of the map or like the void out of the Lost Woods area, which I just was in. Didn't really explain that part too well, sorry. You can store an instance of a menu, and that's what we did right now. So we can open up 2 maps and that allows us to mess with the game's warp system. First one was kind of random. This one is more deliberate, where we're going to apply the destination of an overworld waypoint to the stilled world, because there's two different arrays that this uses. So I just selected that other warp point on the second map after selecting just any other one, and that applied that graveyard warp point to the stilled world, which they have like the same array number, but there's two different arrays, one for the overworld, one for the stilled world. And we applied that value of the warp point in the overworld to the stilled world, which happens to coincidentally line up with the final dungeon, Noel's body. And as we can see, Link is here. Hi, Link. Nice to see ya. And now we got like a bit of an enemy gauntlet. We got the first wave, which are just like a bunch of moblins. I'm stuck. Get me out of here. Link's gonna take care of that while I place some sea urchins here, and I'm hopefully able to skip this enemy gauntlet here. Standing in these corners. Oop. Oh. Okay. Okay, good. That's that down. Now we're gonna try to get another skip. This is supposed to be a Lionel, but if you place these urchins down in precise locations while standing somewhere where it can't reach you, you can defeat it before it spawns. And that was supposed to be like a Lionel. And if you know anything about Breath of the Wild, those are like incredibly, incredibly dangerous enemies. And we're at 3 hearts. We die in 1 hit to the Lionel. So it's really nuts. But as you can see, there's a lot of places where Link isn't spawning, and that's going to create some problems. I could press the switch to progress, but if I let it progress normally, it's going to soft lock the game. So I have to pause buffer until the frame it breaks. Otherwise, I have to reload my save, but it's like a 30-second time loss, so it's not too big of a deal. This final gauntlet is quite an ordeal. It is easily the hardest part of the run, as well as the final boss. So I have to pause on the exact frame that urchin breaks that switch. Otherwise, I'm going to have to reload the save. But luckily, this game has autosave, so it's pretty generous. That was close. I can't believe I'm dropping it. There's other methods that people are doing. Some people use like the L button for the quick menu. I use the pause menu because it's a lot more consistent for me personally. That's a minute of time loss. My PB actually, you know, failed that a couple of times. Oh, don't want that. I want the bed. Let's see if I get this. 3rd time's a charm. This is pretty unlucky for me. I should be able to get it next time, though. This is a little bit tough.
Hey, don't worry, we've seen much worse on this show.
This isn't even that hard of a trick. I'm just letting nerves get to me a little bit.
Ah, it's all good. Now you mentioned your PB, and you mentioned an emergency possible PB at the beginning of the show in the green room. What time are we looking for?
I'm trying to get like... Oh. I wasn't even trying that time. I'm trying to aim for, like... I was trying to aim for top 10 before I kind of put down the category after GDQ. Because I got some IRL stuff that was getting in the way. I think top 10 would be a good time to get in this category, but I'm more looking forward if I return to this game in any serious capacity to run Restricted or all dungeons, because they're much less brutal categories to grind, even though Restricted has this similar trick. I'm just getting a little bit nervous. I need a little bit of serious time. Come on. 5 times is ridiculous. This is definitely below average for me. Whew.
Well, don't sweat it. But what we can do while we're working on this,
announcement.
I was gonna say I can cover the nerves for you. You can always go to gamesdonequick.com/hotfix to check out this season's lineup. We did recently add a couple of new shows about 2 weeks ago, I think. So make sure you're checking out the schedule for an in-depth look, not only at each show, but what each show is doing for that week. So all the upcoming runs, that is usually updated, I believe, Sunday night. So make sure you check back every week so you know what's going on during the Hotfix season. And like I said earlier, if you do any runs or part of any communities where you want to submit yourself or friends, family, or other people for consideration, feel free to go ahead and submit your runs on the gamesdonequick.com/hotfix website, including for our expanded and other adventurous categories that we talked about earlier today. I'm going to keep plugging that until somebody submits Prince of Persia or something that didn't fit before.
Yeah, those are.
You want me to keep going?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, a little,
I
just a
can keep
little.
going.
Yeah.
Well, so let's see. What else do I got? Anyone who has subs, Prime Gaming subs, gift subs, and bits cheered on the GDQ Twitch channel do help support Games Done Quick Hotfix. So if you enjoy watching speedruns, do consider subscribing to the channel, which will give you access to our emotes, allow you to have ad-free viewing, and chat with other subscribers during replays. We do have content year-round. We are more than just a couple of main events a year, so definitely make sure to be checking out the live channel, checking out replays, checking out the YouTube. Whatever it is, there is always some great content on the GDQ, various sources and media, so definitely keep an eye on those.
Come on. This is getting ridiculous. I've never failed this trick so many times in a row. This is... This isn't even the hardest trick. The pseudo-wudo trick, you know, the tower that I built, that's like a harder trick than this.
And that trick was wild when I was watching you do that. I didn't know if we were in Minecraft, Fortnite, what was going on, but like
we were basically in creative mode for a bit with some like limited parameters, and now this is just... Oh, come on. Why am I dropping inputs? This is kind of nuts. Because the reason why I'm like quitting out is because it soft locks the game in this glitched state.
Is there a risk if you wait too long to quit out that it like you can't get back into it? Because I saw the doors open there for a second.
No, the doors open and the camera locks and just stays there, and you can't progress. What we want to do is we want to create a save on the same frame that the switch breaks. So we can load it and bypass the soft lock. Come on, give me the frame. Was I paused on the frame and I just didn't know that? I hope not. Because it's supposed to... I'm looking for like a big pink burst there. I've lost already like 4 minutes of this. This is kind of absurd.
No, don't worry about it. It's just practice for the next time. Anytime I screw
Yeah,
up
yeah. Anytime you fail is like practice.
Yeah, anytime something like that happens during my run, I'm always just like, that's a time save for later. That'll give me a gold split next time I do it.
Yeah. I mean, my PB like fails this trick twice and gets a third try.
Alright, we're all looking for pink now.
Yeah, a burst of pink. Oh, come on. I wasn't actually afraid of this happening. I was more afraid of like the final boss, but I was practicing that a ton. In practice, I got this like second try too. Oh wait, that's a table. That won't break it.
You just sign up for dinner, that's all.
Yeah. I'm gonna treat myself to a nice dinner after this.
You deserve it.
Okay, I think that's the frame I'm looking for.
I'm gonna hold off the celebration until we confirm.
Oh wait, that was the bed. Yeah, that was the bed. Oh good lord, what is happening?
I do have to ask the question, do we have a backup save or something if we need it?
I should have a backup save in case of something, but I hope I don't have to resort to that. But this is making me kind of nervous. What are we looking at on the timer?
On the timer, we're currently about almost 37.
Okay, we should still be fine. Maybe there's possibility we go overestimate, but I just wasn't anticipating failing this a lot. If in the rare case that I die in like twice on the final boss, it might just mercy kill it.
No. We'll get there. I got faith.
Yeah. Come on, why am I... Oh, this is making me... Like, this... I'm getting every frame but that pink one. It's not even that hard to hit. This game has 0, like, frame buffer for the pausing. It's...
Hey, we do these runs because they're hard, not because they're easy. It's called Perilous Paths for a reason. Zelda is a lot more dangerous, as people can tell now, than maybe they came in thinking.
Oh, yeah. And... I knew that this was, like, a hard part of the run. I just forgot. Or maybe I'm just having a rough day. That looked close. Oh, come on, that was like 1 frame off. I might try a different buffering method and see that if I get any luck with that. Or maybe I delay my buffer so I'm not pausing as long.
Well, that is a very generous reset point.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh wow, I started buffering before I needed to. Okay, finally! That's the frame. That's the frame right there. Oh, okay.
I saw the pink.
That took way too long. Twitch chat, can we get higher? Oh, okay. Now we get like a bit of a decent enemy combat room. This is a nice, refreshing change of pace. All these enemies, I think, kill in 1 hit, but we got like a neat little setup. We get to distract the wolfos with the urchins, drop them down. Uh-oh.
And remember, there is some animator over at Nintendo that put a lot of work into that animation. We're just trying to show it off and make sure Nintendo gets its money worth on that.
Okay. Okay, Link finish off the wolf. Okay, that was slightly sketch, but way better than that soft lock skip room. So now in terms of, like, frame perfect stuff, that's all out of the way in the run, thankfully. And normally, this is where, like, in this dungeon, a wall's normally here, so you can't normally go on the Link side. But because we got here a wrong warps, it messes with the game's flags. And we could actually enter this side of the room when we're not supposed to. And we can just utterly break it. So we just do a little bit of a setup with the trampolines. Get out the trees again. Another trampoline. Because normally you have to bring Link up from other side. Okay, I forgot I have to push it up against this wall. Okay, there we go. Because normally you do that puzzle from the other side and not this side. And we skip an entire 2D section that would have required us to get the keys in, like, the beginning cave, where you do a bit of a flying section. I kind of miss when that was in the run, in the old restricted route, because you had some cool movement there with the wind and like the bats. But that's unfortunately out of the run now. But now we're approaching the final boss, Null, which has 3 phases. The first phase is like kind of simple, pretty easy. Second one's an auto-scroller, and the third one is sometimes the 7th layer of hell.
And remember, you did tell me to remind you to save on phase 3.
The third phase. Yeah, I did give you like that reminder.
I've got one job, and I had to make sure I did it.
Alright, so how this fight works is Null is going to attack with these arms, and we need Link to chop them down. When you're playing this casually, you probably use the Echo monsters that you got all playthrough. I'm going to play it a bit safe so I can get some hearts, because this does 2 hearts of damage, and I do not want to die. And we got to do damage with Link, but Link's AI can be a bit like as I've seen people describe it, a Bronze 4 League of Legends player. The AI can be a bit dumb at times, so we gotta make sure Link cooperates with us, like gets his sword slashes at time. So, Null Phase 1 begins with, like, the Orb phase, and now we get, you know, the Wall Hand phase, and we just gotta pull them out, and when the tendons turn white, that's Link's cue to chop it off. Because you probably didn't know this if you play this casually, because even though the game indicates that you can pull these, you probably just wailed on it like with monsters like what I did instead. But first phase is pretty manageable, because all you're doing is just dealing with these wave attacks, and if you don't grab it right away because this game's targeting system is just spectacular, you're probably gonna have a bit of a difficult time in the later phases, where missing an arm is more consequential than just having to, you know, dodge the wave. Like this phase, this 2 out of 2 wall phase in phase 1, if I don't grab these arms in time, the floor is going to turn all, like, poisonous and create, like, a damaging AoE effect that makes it hard for Link to slash. But this is a fairly clean Null one so far, aside from messing with because of this game's targeting issues, and we're approaching the end of phase 1. Come on, I want to grab Link. I kind of want to grab Link so that way I can just jump with the urchins and not have him get stuck, because he can get stuck with the urchins and not attack sometimes. But he's being fairly cooperative, which is good. Alright, moving on to phase 2. Phase 2 is an auto-scroller, and it is a joke. We just gotta chase Null down in the water before we begin phase 3, which is way harder. It's like phase 1 on steroids, because that phase has 5 arms. Also, that's like, it's supposed to be like the third boss, but we could just swim through them, collect the air bubbles. It's pretty chill. Third phase has 5 arms instead of 3. There's also the same number of phases, but in the wall phases, Null could spawn monsters, and in between, like, the attacks in the main orb phase, Null will transform into some of the dungeon bosses, whose attacks can be kind of a pain to avoid. First one, not so bad. Like, after the first round of bosses with the Talus and the Sand Temple boss, forget the name of that boss, you got, like, Dark Nuts, and then you got, like, Ganon and, like, the other boss. But right here, we get to this point, we drop an urchin, and it's done. Alright. Time for phase 3. I'll save after I get past this point, so I don't have to start from the beginning of the fight. Okay, that's clean so far. We just got some boss attacks. We can easily avoid these. And first, I'm aiming for these hands that are holding the tries, because they're the ones that that spawn the boss monsters. Come on. Ah, not in time. Ah, that's unfortunate. So we just gotta sit through this boss attack. Harding was kind of fighting with me. Okay, move out of this. Grab this hand. Come on, Link. Link, get over here. Ah. I guess I kind of grabbed it in a weird way. Come on. This time I'll move clockwise. Okay, now it can't spawn the monsters until the next phase. Okay, I'm gonna take this opportunity to make a safety save. I want to grab onto Link, so that way I can drop urchins, and then the next part is where the fight gets a little bit challenging. I kind of messed up like the first few phases, so I have no idea what walls the arms are gonna pop out of. There's like a manipulation you can do to make this a little bit manageable. Okay, avoid this. I don't want to get caught in that abyss because that loses 30 seconds and makes me vulnerable to dying. Okay, this is why I got the boulder as a safety strat to block the attacks. And hopefully we'll only get to see the Ganons once. Come on, Link. Okay, good. And now aim for the orbs, because we don't want this next attack to appear, ideally. Come on, Link, over here. Come on. No good. So we're just going to box ourselves in so we don't get attacked by this boss, Scorchill, because this is a one-shot kill. I'm going to play this very careful and safe. I'm kind of scared for the Lizalfos phase now, but now that's the boss attacks that can't hurt us now. Alright, switch back to the urchins, and then we got, like, probably the hardest part of the fight coming up right here with the Lizalfos. They can be utter pests. Let's place some of these urchins down as a distraction. If I stick close to the walls, it won't be too much of a problem. Oh, come on. This is bad. I'm going to switch to boulders. Alright, I'm going to have to play this very patiently. This is going to be a bit slow, but I don't want to die here. I die in one hit. Oh wait, I actually don't die in one hit. I die one hit with these guys. Oh gosh, this is really bad. This is really, really bad. This is very scary. Come on, Link. Get over here. Okay, that's one. Are these down? Link's keeping him at bay there, which is good. Please no Lizalfos. Okay, I'm not risking that. Uh-oh. I don't want to get hit there. Let's sneak through here. Come on. I'm just trying to find an opening here, because it's getting a bit dangerous. You do not want a lot of these monsters to spawn like that. Oh, I'm running away. I just don't want to die here. That's more important than getting through this fast. Oh, I did die, but I saved so I start in the beginning of this phase. That phase can get a bit out of control if you die there, but it's not too much of a time loss compared to if I didn't save. That's why we make the safety save. Okay. Let's hope we can get the minute this time. If I pull up like these next two orb arms fast this time, I have a much easier pattern later in the fight. Come on, Link. Good, good, good. That's much faster that time. Whew. Okay, I'm already on the urchins. Place it down. And then it's going to spawn on this wall right here. Come on. I can dodge by jumping. Nice, that was pretty clutch of me to jump over the axe. Those axes do, like, 2 hearts. Okay, that was really clutch. I didn't expect that to land. No, wrong arm. Not that one. Oh, rip. Targeting system was fighting against me. Okay. Come on. Can we get 2? Okay, switch to boulders. Come on. Okay, good. Not gonna get the Ganons again. Still got the Lizalfos phase to deal with. Whew. If we can get through this Lizalfos phase pretty cleanly, we should be fine. I'm gonna try doing the boulders instead, because they're much more durable than the urchins. Place one here.
For anyone who hasn't run a game with an AI companion or an AI partner, it's a lot harder and more frustrating than people think.
Oh. Did not want to get hit there. Oh, that was bad planning on my part. I should not have got hit here. I'm gonna give it one more go. What time are we at right now?
We are at about 52, I think.
Okay, I'll give this one more go, because we're already a little bit above estimate due to, like, soft lock skip. And this fight being a bit hard. This is easily the hardest part of the run. Doing this with 3 hearts is brutal.
That's what we signed up for here on Perilous Paths.
Yeah.
So if there wasn't danger, it wouldn't be any fun.
Yeah, like, that's part of the fun in this category, as much as it brings me a lot of pain. But I guess I could give this opportunity, like, whether, like, win or lose. I guess I could give this opportunity at the beginning fight to give, like, a bit of shout-outs. I want to shout out, you know, well-renowned Zelda runner Gland for making the Echoes of Wisdom Discord. So if you want to get involved with that community, that's, like, your starting point. I also want to give a shout-out to Glubbers. He put on the show at GDQ for any percent restricted. Myth197, he made a tutorial. He also runs Minish Cap, but he's been like a good community leader in this game. I want to also shout out people like Gymnast and Ninpulk for some of their discoveries. A lot of people to thank. Some people I'm not really admittedly remembering at the top of my head, and I apologize for that. Okay, 2 arms, that's good. But a lot of people worked really hard when this game was new to bring it to where it is today, which is unbelievably fast. Okay, come on. Link. Okay. We're retreating. Okay. Okay. Just get this last orb. And then we're back to Lizalfos, and we pray for the best.
You got this. I believe in you.
Yeah, Lizalfos could be a bit tricky, but I mean, my first run back, I got through this fight first try, so maybe I was a little bit overzealous in terms of my preparations after initially derusting it, but I was pretty confident because I derusted Pseudo-Wudo, that tower strat, pretty fast.
And you were, for reference to everybody, you were dominating this in the green room before we started.
Yeah, this is just really hard. Okay, this is... Okay. Oop. I missed my chance there. I got a little bit scared. I'm gonna let this do fake out. Okay, that guy's distracted by... Oh, that was bad. That was not a good move. I should not have gone in the middle of that. Come on. Okay, wait for this guy to come. Okay, they're distracted by the boulders, but come on. Arm, arm, arm. Please come out of the wall. Thank you. Okay, Link. Okay. We're now in the last phase. We need to be clutch here. No Goma. No Goma, please. Okay. 6 Ganons, I can deal with that. Okay. Link. Okay, good. Okay, get to 2 hearts, we're almost done. No more bosses can spawn. We also avoided Goma spawning, which is the worst possible spawn for the bosses there. The other 2 phases of bosses were a set order, but that one's completely random. But okay, the fight, we win. We finally won. We might have gone a little bit overestimate, died to this twice, failed soft lock, skip a bunch after admittedly pretty strong start to the run, but we pulled through. Third time was the charm. Never give up, everyone.
If there is one thing about speedrunning, it is that persistence is key. So,
all right, time is coming up when we pull the Triforce out. So as soon as the Triforce leaves the body, that's going to be time. Time.
GG.
Oh my god, that was so stressful. You have no idea. I felt when I was failing soft lock, skip one, my heart was pounding out of my chest. That was the most nervous I've ever been speedrunning ever. On a trick that I usually do not fail like that. Whew. What a brutal category. And to think that I got, like, below estimate comfortably last night. This is a very perilous run, but it's a very fun and rewarding run, especially when you're not rusty like me, who hasn't run this category since the practice room at GDQ and getting like 42s, 41s and stuff consistently. But I hope it was an entertaining showcase, albeit a little bit messy because of me failing soft lock skip a bunch. And the final boss, Null, is being Null, of course, really difficult. Oh, I'm kind of torn whether I spend the next few days grinding this to improve my PB. My PB is a 39 minutes, by the way, just for reference. That's 6 minutes off the world record, but that has like a minute and a half of time loss due to failing that soft lock skip twice, as well as some other errors, me not having the most optimal boss fight. One shout out I want to give, a couple more shout outs I want to give, one more for this community specifically, is the world record holder Ruben LS3. Ruben is just absolutely cracked at this category. He worked really hard to find that null manipulation, test it alongside Glenn and a bunch of others, and he got the first sub 34 time 4 months ago, and no one's been able to beat it since. It's quite a difficult time to beat, and I'm not sure if it's going to be beaten for a very long time. Which is weird to say for such a new game, but this category is brutal and kind of optimized.
Well,
and also,
you got one more?
And also, thank you to Games Done Quick for inviting me on the show. I kind of wish that I got under my generous estimate, but I'm very thankful for the opportunity, and I'll be down to maybe return for a different game in a less brutal category sometimes. If you want to see more of me, check out my YouTube channel, Lunatic J. I make speedrun documentaries. Also follow my Twitch. I don't really stream that much, but I want to get back into it with other content. With that pretty much wraps it up for me.
Awesome. Well, I sincerely appreciate you showcasing this game. I think it was a lot of fun. I speak for the audience, I think, when I say I appreciate you showing persistence and tenacity and sticking with it. I'm glad we saw it out till the end. But we're going to take a quick 5-minute-ish break to set up for the next run. That's going to be 9 Souls. I'm super excited for this one, so don't go anywhere, but we'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
All right.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Perilous Paths here on GDQ Hotfix. We're going to move right into the next game, which is 9 Souls, any percent restricted. I'm super excited for this one. We've got Sun Tzu and his commentary team of Sherplung and Lurks. How are the three of you doing today?
Hey, doing great. Looking forward to the run.
I'm doing.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good as well. Oh god.
Awesome.
So are we ready to get into it? Should we do quick intros?
Yeah,
I'm Sun Tzu. I'll be running the game for you today.
Yeah, I'm Lurks. Hello.
Yeah. I'm Sherplung. I'll be commentating his run.
All right, Cutie, am I good to go into it?
Yeah.
Give
Give
you
us
a countdown?
Give us a 3, 2, 1. We'll get time started and we'll start this one up.
All right, let's do it. 3, 2, 1, go. So the first thing you might notice is we're loading an existing save here. This is skipping about 7 minutes of cutscenes right at the start of the run with about 30 seconds of gameplay. So we're just gonna get right into it. We did a kind of funny glitch there, which is we jumped up when entering that cutscene trigger, which just kind of made us bonk into the wall. Saves about a second because the guy reaches us faster for the tutorial. As I'm moving around, you might notice that I'm dashing and jumping. That's going to be our fastest method of movement for this run, because every time we land on the ground, it's going to reset our dash, which is faster than just dashing and waiting for it to come back naturally. A few other things to mention. Oh, what? There's a missing enemy there. Interesting. There's normally an archer there. Wait, I killed him. Never mind. We're good. So you might notice I'm killing a few enemies as I run through this area. That's mostly just going to be for XP routing. We're not going to need to kill a ton of them, but we need just a few enemies here so that we can hit certain skills that we want before the first boss of the game. We're killing the archers because they're the fastest to kill for the amount of XP that they give. Oop. There we go, down the stairs. So we got a quick cutscene here. Probably we can explain some of the kind of core game mechanics of this. So Nine Souls, it's a Metroidvania that's based on Sekiro and Hollow Knight, so it's going to have a very parry-heavy, fast-paced combat, sort of inspired by Sekiro. And one of the core systems of this game is the parry and talisman system. So every time we parry, we're going to gain a key charge, which you're going to see in the circles next to my health bar up there. And anytime I get one of those charges, I can use it to apply a talisman. And so using talismans are good both for combat and movement, because it's sort of an extra air dash, as well as something you can attach to enemies and detonate for big damage. So we got a quick arena fight here. Hopefully I won't die. It's possible, but it shouldn't happen normally. Go. Okay, clean fight. So anything else I should be explaining here? We're going to get one more kill here while we're waiting for the elevator for some free XP. And as we get through this area, we're going to be approaching our first boss of the game. This guy is a pushover because we're expected to fight him with the amount of gear we have right now. So, as we go down this elevator, I think I'll let my commentators take over to explain some of the strats that we're going to see in this boss fight.
Alright, so you'll basically see two things throughout the fight, which is the full triple combo and then jumping to cancel it. Because if you animation cancel the final slash, which you saw previously in the earlier combats, then you can start another combo quicker, and you'll also just see well-timed talismans to go through him as he's attacking. That's about it for that.
Yeah,
And
this
we
is
use that throughout the run.
yeah.
Oh, I missed it. Dang it. So right there, there's a little slow-mo effect that happens at the end of the fight. If you jump and slash with the right timing, you actually skip that slow-mo effect, and you're able to enter the elevator a couple seconds earlier. But I didn't get the timing quite right, so we missed that. You might see that again, but only on the final boss, and none of the other bosses we'll see for the rest of this run. So keep an eye out for that in an hour. So right now, we're kind of past the tutorial section of the game. And so we're going to reach the pavilion, which is sort of the home base for most of this run. We're going to see a ton of cutscenes right now. Something you might notice is there's no cutscene skip in this game, unfortunately. We're going to do as much as we can to not watch cutscenes, but when they're there, we just kind of have to sit through them. All right, so here is Pavilion, and we're going to get our first ability here in a second, which is going to be the Mystic Nymph. So this hallway takes forever to get through, but in a second we should be there.
Should I explain the Mystic Nymph skip?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So there is actually a way to skip fighting that first mini boss Baichang and get to where we need to go while skipping the Mystic Nymph and the upgrade we are getting pretty much directly afterwards, the Fusang Horn, which is basically like primitive fast travel. But the issue that arises with that is that going around takes way longer than just picking up the abilities does, and picking up the abilities also saves time in places that would be very problematic if we did not have those abilities. So while it is technically possible for if you're doing something like low percent, it loses significant time for this route specifically.
Yeah, and we're going to have one actual spot where we need to use the nymph in this entire run, which was to turn on Ruyi here, who we are going to need at the very end of the run to get another ability. So even if we could get Mystic Nymph later, it's just kind of easier to get it now. Another thing worth talking about while we're here is text in this game. So there's no cutscene skip, but there is a button which we can hold to scroll through text. But it's a bit funny the way it works because there's a slow startup before the text starts going fast. So kind of per text box, it ends up being either faster to hold the button to get the fast scrolling or mash through it if it's only a few text boxes. Just one of those things that is going to save a few seconds over the course of the run, probably like 30. But just as you go through it over and over again, you learn every single text box, what's the right way, where you need to mash, where you need to hold. So here we're going to enter the Limitless Realm, which is the sort of like liminal space where we're going to talk to Lear, who is the sort of spiritual advisor to our main character here, Yi, and also this ancient historical figure. He's going to give us a lot of abilities throughout the run and tutorials on how to use them. But for now, he's going to give us the Fusang Horn item that Chirpling mentioned, which is going to be our fast travel for this run. So we also could have just exited here, left the pavilion without grabbing this, but it's obviously going to save way more time in the long run to have this thing. So we're just going to talk to him and get it. One thing about the Fusang Horn is it's a little bit limited as a fast travel item because all it lets us do is return from any route node to the pavilion or return from the pavilion to the last route node we were at. We can't actually fast travel between different points on the map. So we're going to have to be kind of careful in our routing just to use that and make sure that we don't, ever need to do more than go back to the last node. There is an upgrade that you would get normally in the game that will let you fast travel more, but we won't be getting that. So,
That would require going out of our way to get like 4 bosses.
Oh yeah, it would be so long to do that.
Yeah.
So we're past the big cutscene section for the start of this run, and we're on to get our first ability, I guess if you don't count Mystic Nymph, which is going to be right through here. Before that, we're going to get a bit of an auto-scroller. There's going to be an arena that's just going to spawn a bunch of enemies while we drop down this elevator. We're going to take advantage just to get some XP since we can't do anything else here. And then coming right out of this, we're going to see our first major glitch of the run. So we're going to take out this enemy here. Yeah, these guys really aren't threatening because once again, we're expected to have this amount of gear right now. Alright, and now I'm going to keep this next enemy alive. So I'm going to kite him to the left, kite him back to the right, and have him follow me out of this arena here. Follow me down. And there we go. So, what just happened? I got him to hit me just as I was dropping down on the rope, and this is going to trigger a glitch called rope storage. So what that means is that the game currently thinks I'm in grabbing range of the rope, and I can just grab it. So what happened there? Whenever you grab the rope, it snaps you to the X position of the rope, kind of no matter where you are while keeping your current elevation, which means that we can just teleport by grabbing that rope straight across solid barriers. So that wasn't actually a huge skip, basically just 10 seconds, save us going around kind of to the left, back down, and up in that room. But we're going to see some pretty major glitches and skips with that later on. So what is this? This is another Limitless Realm section. This is the tutorial area for the ability Tai Chi Kick, which lets us kick these green orbs, and also is going to let us parry green attacks from enemies, which otherwise you wouldn't be able to parry. And so Lear is going to give us a little tutorial here. He wants us to parry him 3 times. So I'm going to run up to him, slash him in the back of the head here. 1, 2, and he's done. So when we slash him in the back of the head, that counts as a stealth attack, which triggers the stagger code for him. And for some reason, they programmed him to just count any stagger as working towards this tutorial. So we were able to just skip one of the tutorial uses there. And it's actually quite funny in other categories where you can get the bow. You can just fire the bow 3 times in a row and skip the entire tutorial. But we're not going to see that, sadly. So that's one ability down. And we've got one more to get in this sort of intro ability collection phase of the speedrun. You're also about to see one of the other major glitches that we use in this category. So I'm going to grab this ledge, cancel the slash with a talisman, and now I have what's called ledge storage. So ledge storage is a really versatile glitch that can do a lot of different things. Basically, the game thinks that we're still on the ledge and has some weird state things that are not cleared correctly. So our first usage is coming up right in a second. This is ledge storage float. So if you jump and parry immediately, you kind of get stuck in the falling animation and can just kind of keep going forever. It's kind of slow, so that's the only time you're going to see it. That also wasn't really a sequence break or anything, just kind of skips the platform cycle there. But it saved us a few seconds, so that's pretty cool. And that's the only time we're going to see float, so... Alright, we're coming up back into 8-man where we were. And now we're going to try to get through here and set up our first major sequence break of the run. So hack right now. One thing I'll mention before that, before we explain that, we're also going to do a quick pit stop before that, and we're going to pick up the Tau Fruit item. So Tau Fruits are items that give us +1 skill point as soon as we pick them up, and also give us a permanent 3% damage boost, which isn't huge, but does add up and actually saves some amount of time. So it's worth it to just pick them up when they're really close by. Alright, and so yeah, I'll let my commentators explain this sequence break that's going to come up right now.
Yeah, so we are approaching the air dash skill, which normally to get the air dash skill, you need to go all the way to the right side of the map to grab the charge strikes, skill. Then you need to run all the way back over to the left to here in order to get the air dash skill, and through a whole other area that we will never actually see in this run. You need to go through there to get here, because this passage that we're going through currently is supposed to be only one way from the other side. You are not supposed to be able to go through here backwards. You can see that rope that was able to be dropped down right in front of there. So this is also showcasing a different property of rope storage, which is the fact that once we store a rope and we warp to the X position, we can just climb that rope infinitely in either direction, because the game doesn't detect the end of a rope, so it just keeps letting us climb. And another thing about rope storage is that if you touch another rope, even the one that you just stored, you will lose rope storage, because the game, when you exit the grabbing distance of that rope, the game will realize that you are no longer in the grabbing distance of a rope, and it will turn off that flag, therefore losing you to storage. So that will become relevant. Later. But that is...
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate you not calling me out on how badly that skip went, because that was a bit of a mess, but we got through.
And those flying enemies are just annoying.
Yeah, sometimes they don't cooperate. In that case, he did, but then I accidentally triggered rope storage, which made me just fly right back to the rope, which in that case was absolutely not what I wanted, and I had to redo it.
Yeah, because I'll just explain it quickly. Because rope storage activates whenever you press like a vertical button. Most controller players actually switch to keyboard for rope storage stretch, just to not accidentally do what happened there.
Yeah, so we're now at our next ability here. So this is the air dash ability. Obviously, as the name implies, it lets you dash through the air. It's also going to give us a new, faster method of movement. Instead of dashing on the ground and jumping every time, we can do these small bunny hops. and just dash a bit faster. And with this ability, we kind of have all we need to enter go mode for this speed run. So this might be a good point just to talk about the structure of Nine Souls. So Nine Souls is actually a pretty linear game. Normally, you would be expected to collect 8 soul seals before reaching the final boss, and each of those, or almost each of those, would be guarded by a boss of their own. And so the normal structure of this game would be you can enter 3 areas at the start and do those bosses in any order, at which point the 4th soul would awaken. There's a sequence where he traps you in prison. You have to escape. You go to his area, fight him, get his seal. Then the 5th soul awakens. There's a huge, long platforming section. You would fight that boss and then get the double jump ability. But all of that is just to get the double jump ability. And so if we don't need it, we just won't do any of that. And so that's exactly what we're going to do right now. So we're going to be heading to the right here, which is normally the second area you would fight, or the second area of the game where you would fight the 2nd soul. And at the very start of this area, there's a place called the Sky Tower. And so the Sky Tower is normally somewhere that you would reach, and you'd find a suspiciously high ledge at the top and just be completely unable to progress. And you're going to see that with our current movement and some glitches, we're going to have no trouble getting through there. So this is coming up right here. I'm going to set up a ledge storage, / cancel it, and there. So whenever you have ledge storage, you can just / press up and just climb a ledge in midair. And that's going to give us just a bit of extra height, which is going to get us past some double jump requirements. The bad news is, from now on, everywhere we go is going to assume that we have double jump. So we are not done our troubles after that little skip. So, I missed it, dang it. Gonna have to try again. So we're going to get another ledge storage. Okay, well this is rough. Let's try that again. Gonna go a bit slower. So do a ledge climb here, go through here. Some careful maneuvering around these lasers. We're going to wait for the cycle here because we'd have to wait for a cycle anyways if we didn't, and makes things a bit easier. One more ledge storage, and here. So we're going to set up another glitch here, which I'll let somebody else explain while I set it up.
Yes. So what we're about to do is called low grav, and the idea behind it is that it is kind of a miracle that it happens. It's a very specific combination of these 3 elements, that being the laser, the grapple point, and the wall. So when you grapple into the laser, you, instead of being put into the normal state when you hit the laser, you are put into the, instead of being put into the hurt state when you touch the laser, you're put into the normal state. But you still have the respawn timer. When you're in the normal state and you touch the wall while holding up, the game puts you in a state where you're climbing the wall, so it's applying an upwards velocity. But then you respawn, so you're off the wall, but the game is still applying the upwards velocity, which is what causes our floating shenanigans that you saw back there.
Yeah, so that's the only place in the game where that exists, and it's great because it's an area that would be really rough if we didn't have that glitch. So one thing I'll point out is I stopped at the node there to unlock some skills. So I unlocked the key boost skill, which gives us an extra charge here. That's going to let us stock up 2 charges without needing to parry an enemy, which is going to be really helpful for movement in some areas. And also is going to be a damage increase because we can detonate both of them at once. Quick rope storage skip here. The fastest way to climb ropes like that is just to hop over and repeatedly re-grab the rope. Looks pretty funny. And the other skill I bought was Skull Kick. So you saw me use that earlier. Skull Kick, it's a downward slash, which is going to give us height whenever we hit an enemy with it. That's very useful in a run where we can't get double jump, and the run is just full of ledges that are too high for us. I guess I'll pass it over. We're going to set up one more ledge storage here and move on to the next area, and I'll let one of my commentators explain this next skip.
Yep. So, after the ledge storage here, we're gonna do what's called West Grotto skip, or simply West Grotto, which is a combination of two of like the more useful techs during the run, which is rope storage, which has already been explained, and something that has to do with Yi's safe ground position. So you'll see here that he goes to the other side and sets his safe ground there while also dealing with the enemies that could impact the skip. And then, sorry, I won't be able to time this correctly, but as he goes back over, he will set it up so he doesn't reset his safe ground by using the falling or crumbling blocks and the and not landing on the platform. Then he climbs back up, which doesn't reset your safe ground, and gets the rope storage, and then he uses the old set safe ground to teleport back to the other side.
Yeah,
and this
so
also
we're
gets
right
used
through
in
the wall
next
there.
skip.
That skips so much. It skips an entire room to the right. It skips a really long cutscene. Oh boy, okay. So I need to bait this enemy to the left to skull kick him. He doesn't always cooperate. Hopefully we can get him to... There we go, that looks good. And we're up.
Nice.
And just
Make sure to grab the node.
Yes.
as a testament to like how much this strat actually skips, this has basically been the longest used rope storage skip that's still actually in any percent, because this boss is required like 100% as far as we know, and his entire area is like a puzzle area otherwise.
Yeah. This rope storage specifically skips an entire area puzzle that most speedrunners have completely forgotten the solution to, because we just do the skip in every single glitch category.
Yeah,
I
so
can confirm
coming up,
this.
this is G. This is the first boss we're going to fight. This would normally be the 6th major boss you would fight in the game. So to say we're going to be under-leveled and under-geared is a bit of an understatement. So I'm going to be quiet and focused for this part, and let my commentators do the talking.
Yes, so I will point out that what Waffle said in chat is correct. The reason that we had to do that whole thing for resetting the safe ground is because if we were to touch the ropes in the area there, then it would have lost the rope storage. So by doing that, he's able to completely skip dealing with those. In other runs, we try to go under those ropes, but you just don't have the abilities here.
Yeah. So coming up is G, and in this fight we will see a lot of the kind of air combat tech in the run. So we'll be seeing a lot of skull kick weaving, which is what you see there, where you can all of your air attacks have like a cooldown between them, so you can't do them at like however fast you press the button. But if you do a skull kick you can squeeze a skull kick inside of that cooldown between slashes. That basically just lets you get a extra hit on your air combo in the same amount of time, so it's incredibly useful for this fight, given that G is almost always in the air. And to also see him using talismans to refresh his air combo mid cycle.
Yeah, and because of like all the daggers, this is mostly just a DPS race, and I guess not race, but trying to go as fast as possible. Because have talisman up a lot of the time, but this is also the highest health bar in the game, even more than the final boss. At least the phase 2 is.
Yeah, specifically the phase 2 is the highest single health total in the game. I believe it is. I have it written down somewhere exactly how much it is. But yeah, it is 7,840, and the final boss of phase 2 is 7,500, which is quite funny, because this is just the penultimate boss.
It does fit story-wise, though.
Yeah, somewhat. And also his first phase has about half the HP of second phase, so we'll be here for much longer. Yeah, so during that black hole attack, you saw pretty well the things that air refreshes and skull kick weaves can do for your air combo game.
Yeah, maybe because it's at the end of the cycle and they're focusing on the final boss, but this boss also has a lot of like glitches, especially like on older versions. Which, Sherpung, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so there's a tech on this fight in categories that do get the progression ability, specifically All Souls and Seals, which is self-explanatory as a category, where you can do a special super parry on his horizontal Crimson attack, which allows you to get four talismans off on a single attack, which is significantly more than you otherwise would, along with the extra internal damage from the parry. Oh yeah, also, we haven't explained what internal damage is. That's probably pretty important.
Yeah, so essentially if you do an imperfect parry, then you'll get dealt internal damage, which will heal over time if you don't take any other damage, but becomes real damage if you get hit with it. The enemies also can get internal damage through you doing the super parry that Taopunk talked about with a progression ability, but since we don't have that, it can also be applied via talismans, and then their internal damage becomes real damage when you talisman them. And Tai Chi Kick, yes. Or Skull Kick.
Yeah, well, Skull Kick assuming that you parry something like you would a Tai Chi Kick, because it's basically a replacement for the Tai Chi Kick that you can use if you feel like pressing the X button instead of the parry button. I think Butterfly Lady is the best boss. It is. I do think that she's definitely my second favorite.
We skip her though.
Yeah, we don't fight her. She gets to live quotation marks.
I mean, because going to her would literally be like the longest thing in the game. She's the requirement for double jump.
Yeah, pretty explicitly.
Yeah, and his daggers also just function weirdly. We've had some issues with that across the history of the game. Do you want to explain the cutscene skip now? We're getting close.
So upcoming is a cutscene skip where after he dies, there's a big long cutscene.
It's very inconsistent. It's tough to hit. Yeah.
This guy's incredibly inconsistent, but
yeah, it's basically just like a frame perfect pause, and if you hit it at just as the cutscene would normally hit, you can pause. The save will still trigger, and so you can quit back to main menu. But yeah, I did not hit it here. You never really expect to hit it. You're more just happy when you do get it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and
so I came very close to dying here, but it worked out. So yeah, we're gonna grab G's seal right now, which isn't really necessary for anything, but we're locked in until we grab it, so we've got no choice. This is about a minute-long sequence where we just walk through so we can maybe talk about what's coming up next. So we just picked up I haven't picked it up yet, but we're about to pick up one of the two items we need that are locking our access to the final area of this game. So that being G's hair, which he just dropped from his body, and I'll pick up on the way out of here. So once we pick that up, we're now going to be on our way to the last of the souls that you would normally fight before the final boss, who has the other half needed for this upgrade. So they're going to be in the Empyrean area, which we briefly crossed through on our way here, but we're going to go through a different path to get there now, which is going to help us do another interesting skip.
Yeah. So coming up is what we call minor skip, because we'll normally have to fight the minor, I forget his name, things like Tianshou, right before you go to the next area. But that takes a while, so instead we do another safe ground rope storage skip, which this one, as you'll see as he goes into the next area, he'll set a safe ground right on like a drop throughable platform, and then we have to do that entire next platforming section without setting our safe ground. And the reason that's possible is because Yi doesn't set his safe ground when he lands in a corner, for whatever reason. On top of not doing it when he climbs up ropes, or obviously lands on unsafe ground. So what we do here is a combination of skull kicks, air movement, and landing in corners to not set our safe ground. And eventually we'll get down to a rope, trigger rope storage, and then void out, back up, and use that rope storage to get to the next area.
Yeah. It's generally considered one of the tougher skips in the run. because it takes a very long time to get used to all the movement with the corner jumps and predicting the attack of this enemy at the end, where you have to do two different things depending on what that enemy does, because he can either do the big slash where you need to not press anything until you drop down and then just neutral jump into the pit, or you can do the small triple combo where you need to dash into the pit without landing on the platform.
Oh,
Yes.
do I have health left, or am I gonna die right now?
I think you got it.
My health looked
No.
really... No, that's sad. Yeah, so fortunately, I reopened the gate for safety so that I'm not going to have to redo the minor skip. But yeah, we have that somewhat precise skip right at the end where we have to skip deactivating this waterfall, which you would normally do when fighting the boss. You have to interact with the elevator just as you dash through to it. And I need to get 2 parries here. Yeah, unfortunately it took just a bit too much damage on the way here. And didn't get it quick enough, so... We're gonna try that.
Luckily
there we
it's
go, first try.
relatively savable as long as you open the door, otherwise you just have to redo the entire skip.
Yeah, if you have to redo minor skip, it's really rough to do that. But yeah,
Waffle
definitely
in
taking the
chat
safety strats we can.
Yeah, Waffle in chat has a good point where where I have never seen you die and still get the animation of walking to the door.
Yeah, that's the first time I had it. I wasn't sure what would happen.
It always happens for the first time on Hotfix, I suppose. So
we got another... Yeah, exactly. We got another major skip coming up here, which I will let one of my commentators explain why we do it, which is going to be using the new wall slide tech.
Yeah, this wall slide tech was discovered like 2 weeks ago-ish. And it is some more shenanigans with ledge storage. So the way that it works normally, so you can see him he was kiting an enemy over, but he sadly failed that part of the skip. So this involves jumping next to the wall, slashing, holding back into the wall during the slash, and then basically as you exit the slash, the game kind of checks if you have a wall behind you, and if you have a wall behind you, it will trigger like ledge climb states, or like being grabbed onto a ledge.
And this requires having ledge storage, which I picked up right at the start of this room earlier.
Yeah. So if you have the ledge stored, then the game will think, oh, you're next to a wall, you must be grabbing onto a ledge. So it makes you grab onto the ledge, and so you stop dropping. But since you use the slash, you can get into that state with upwards velocity, and if you do, then you can just slide up the wall forever until you reach a stopping point in the wall.
Funny skip interesting there. We just climbed a rope very high so that we would be able to reach this platform that's quite far away. So climbed up for about 6 seconds there, which gives me enough height. So we're through this room.
Yeah,
I'm gonna open this door. Yeah.
So what he just passed on his way down here, that was normally one of the soul sanctums that you'd have to go to get a seal, but you can kind of just skip that since he went over it anyway.
Yeah, normally that seal would just be unguarded and you kind of walk in, pick it up, because it would be guarded by one of the fangs who are both souls. They're twins, but they're both actually guarding the last one together. So long cutscene coming up. I opened up that door there because we got another skip coming up, which usually is pretty safe, but if I miss it, I'm going to have to redo that entire wall slide, long rope storage skip. But by opening that door, we're going to be able to come right back in here if I miss that skip. So coming up is going to be another wall slide. This one set up a little bit differently, where instead of just doing the kind of moonwalk and slash into the wall, I'm going to use an enemy and skull kick them to send myself flying up the wall. And this is actually going to be an arena fight, which normally you'd have to fight something like 7 enemies, which spawn one after the other, and we're instead just going to slide right up to the top, which is going to be funny because the camera is locked during arena fights, so we're going to do a little bit of off-screen movement. But fortunately, it's pretty simple, so...
And this is why he was trying to kite the enemy for the other wall slide, but because it's completely RNG based, the ledge charge wall slide is good backup.
Yeah, the Skull Cube version is quite a bit faster, which with that long wall would have been helpful to get. But
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
we got it.
Very nice.
So we're going to grab the root node here, and as soon as we rest, it's going to give us control back of our camera, which is very helpful, because otherwise doing this would be awful. We're going to pick up a couple skills, get another chi boost here. Kind of a maybe dev-intended skip here. You can just send the nymph up to open this door from behind. So that's going to save us from going through some platforms. And then we're going to go back around. There's actually a cutscene trigger here, but for some reason the trigger is so low you can just kind of jump right over it. And you skip that phone call.
The devs have a thing about making triggers either incredibly short or absurdly tall, but rarely ever putting them to the ceiling.
Yeah, so there's a lot of triggers you can jump with crazy skips. That one is the only one you can just kind of jump over with nothing special. So we're coming up on our second boss of the game here. So once again, I will focus and let my commentators do the talking.
Yeah,
So this is Fushi. So he's kind of mutated whatever story stuff, and his sister, who doesn't really do anything at first. And so he has a few different attacks, one of which expects us to have a later ability that an ability that we would get by now, but we just don't have. And you can use that to parry the red attacks, but eh.
Yeah, I don't know if we've mentioned it, but yeah, red attacks are just not parryable at all.
Unless they're green.
So we have to dash through them.
Yeah. Well, the set ability is the super parry I described earlier when we were fighting G. But it's called the unbounded counter, but we don't get it in this route, even though it is a very awesome ability, a super good skill expression. You should watch a All Souls and Zealous run after this.
True.
Definitely.
Very not biased. We both don't run that category.
Yeah, definitely.
Surely.
Anyways, you see a lot of optimization in like just jump canceling on this guy because he's a big guy with a big hitbox, and big hitboxes. He's kind of infamous for having absurdly disjointed registration on where his attacks actually hit. It can be like above and behind him and above his head, and he'll still hit you within like the adjacent area code.
And technically you can like make him just keep turning around constantly by spacing correctly, but that's slower than using talismans.
Yeah, and also incredibly difficult to do optimally or like consistently as a human.
Yeah. I couldn't tell where we were in the fight because of delay, but
yeah. So we're getting pretty close to phase 2, and if you've played this game, you'll know that phase 2 is where the fight kind of gets serious, because then his sister Nuwa starts attacking, and it becomes much more difficult because you have a lot of projectiles to keep track of.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, great music.
But, okay, so phase 2?
So yeah, so we're pretty close to starting phase 2. As far as I can
starting
tell.
it right now.
Yeah, we're in it.
So we'll have a bit of time to we'll have a bit of time now. So I have a bit of trivia. So I have a list of little trivia facts here that we can do, that we can read out while this happens. Okay, so the story of the game is loosely based on the Chinese myth of Hao Yi shooting down 9 of the 10 suns so that they would not scorch the earth. This is where Yi gets the name from. Multiple other characters also have mythological equivalents like this. Rui's original Taiwanese name, which is the robot assistant that we met once at the start of the game, directly translates to Robo-Yi. Xuan Xuan, who is the child that we talked to also once, is referred to in the game once as Xuan Yuan, which is the name of the Yellow Emperor, the mythological first ruler of China. The Tai Chi kick is not an actual technique in Tai Chi. The developers referred to rope storage internally as the Flying Thunder God technique. In the demo of the game and various beta builds, the talisman was referred to as a Fu charm. Fushi and Nuwa are based on the mythological characters of the same name, who are culture heroes and creation deities responsible for creating humanity, among other things. The lyrics and the theme for this boss, titled Art Passion, come from the Chinese opera piece Muhu Pass. The weapon Fushi
So
yield...
coming up, I'll cut off the
Yeah.
trivia. We've got one little thing coming up, which is potentially a cutscene skip, so hopefully I'll get it. Ah, I missed it. Dang it. Yeah, so that one's more consistent than G. Usually you would like to slash and pause immediately, and that would allow you to quit out, similar to G, and then just restart without watching the cutscene. But sadly, I missed it, so we're going to get to watch this cutscene. So maybe we can get more trivia facts while this happens.
Oh yeah, you do get get an excellent reaction image here. Yeah, the weapon Fushi yields is actually a Zu, a Chinese string instrument. Nuwa and G share a voice actress. Instead of a standard Unity time delta time module for various game functions, Nine Souls uses a custom module named Time RCG Time. This is likely the cause of many of the FPS dependent aspects of the game. We will get to that later.
FPS
The bottles,
is fun.
Yep, very fun. The ball is dropped by G during the fight. Okay.
We've made it through. We're going to be picking up our last seal here. And after this, we're going to be able to get the Tianhuo Serum, which is the other part we need to get this last ability. So the thing that's blocking us and basically prevented us from just ending the game 30 minutes ago is that you've probably seen these pink mutants all over this area. They're currently immortal. We can't do anything to kill them. If we drop their HP bar to 0, they just kind of get staggered for a bit and then come right back. And there's also certain barriers which are guarded by these mutant growths. And so we're going to get an upgrade now, which is going to give us a way to deal with that, and also is therefore going to allow us to get into the lab, which is where this infection all came from. So we're going to quickly pick up the item that's to the left of the seal here, and then we're going to be on our way back to the pavilion to get that upgrade.
Yeah. If you're wondering what just happened with the second phase of that fight,
Yeah, maybe we should address it.
yeah. Are we even sure why that happens?
Something about his pathfinding breaks.
Yeah.
Yes, we skip a quick phone call by just quitting out here rather than walking back to the right. I don't know if it actually saves time, RTA. Actually, it might just save time loadless.
Yeah, essentially, for some reason, going into that door breaks Fushi's AI, and it also doesn't activate Nuwa's AI unless we do certain actions, which I think are the same actions that break... No, it's different, never mind. But there's most actions will trigger Nuwa's AI, but air slashes or normal ground slashes don't. Completing a triple slash without animation canceling, it will, though.
Yeah, so that's why I just hopped up and down and did air slashes and skull kicks for the whole time. Otherwise, that phase is... I don't want to say impossible, but extremely rough with our current gear because we need to deal with just attacks flying at us from everywhere. We don't have double jump. We don't have unbounded counter. So it's very fortunate for us that cheese exists for this particular category. In some other categories with more gear, it's just faster to do the fight normally. But for us, definitely better to do the cheese. Oh yeah, so maybe we should address this. This guy here is Kuafu. Normally he's the first soul you would meet. We never met him, but fortunately he just shows up for this one cutscene just to give us this upgrade, and he's going to disappear immediately after. And it's really good for us that he just shows up and isn't actually required for this, because otherwise that would add a lot of stuff to actually do in the run.
If you skip the nymph, as we said at the start of the run, then this cutscene plays out completely in the dark, and it is extra funny because Kuafu is both not there, and everything is basically pitch black in the pavilion.
Yeah, so we're going to do a quick pit stop here before going back to the last area. This jump is stupidly precise for no reason. It's just a little bit out of reach, but doing this air slash actually gives us just a tiny amount of height so that we can reach that rope. So we're going to go right here. and deal with this mutant growth that we walked past earlier, which we couldn't deal with. It might be worth mentioning that our new ability only lets us kill them with the talisman, so we're going to have to try to use talismans to take out those mutants whenever we can. So the item we picked up here is the Twin Tao Fruit, which gives us a 3% damage boost like the other Tao Fruits, but also gives us 4 skill points, which is way more than any other in the game. So really mostly a safety strat. It doesn't really save that much time in terms of actual damage output, but it's going to just help us not die, so that's a win in my book. So quickly, we're going to pick up this item here, which is the elevator access token, which is something we can use in the elevator right next to it to access the restricted level. And so this is going to bring us to the lab.
Placement.
Yeah, it makes a little bit of sense because you can access some of the other elevator levels very early in the game. But in this case, yeah, the token is just right next to the elevator that you need it for. So this area is going to be swarming with mutants. We're going to have to try to take out some of these growths. Hopefully he leaves me alone. Okay, he hit me, but he let me explode the mutant, which is what I needed, so I'm gonna blow up another one here, get another talisman, and then here in this area we have 3 mutants to take out to drop this, I don't know what it is, elevator to destroy the floor beneath it.
It's an elevator.
Yeah, we're gonna do a bit of a skip here to get to the other 2. Oh, he's really high right now. Yeah, that's too high. Okay, please be nice. Okay, that looks good. Oh, come on. Oh, I could have done it. I didn't realize. Because I parried, it gave me an air refresh, but I realized too late. Okay, so I'm going to take out this green guy here. Oh boy, okay, this is a bit out of control. I might be in trouble right now. I'm going to have to slowly kill these enemies. Oh, okay, well... Usually you're able to take out the green guy before they all swarm you. We're going to have to run through that area real quick again. Fortunately, I won't have to destroy the mutants again, so... At least it's going to be a little bit faster than last time.
Yeah. These enemies are absolutely brutal when you have low damage because they swarm and you need to have a talisman to take them out.
Yeah, and because they have contact damage on them, it's also just extremely hard to get in a talisman without getting hit.
Yep. On other runs, we use, I think Sherborne's gonna explain this, we use water flow, which is a talisman style, which allows us to just apply the talisman and then it'll blow up after a cooldown. But it's too far in the skill tree, I believe.
Yeah, it's just costs way more than we could ever get in this route. We're gonna do this again. Okay, I don't actually know the setup here. When he's not chasing us after the mutant, but hopefully I can kind of kite him back around here. No, that's no good. This might take a second. He's very finicky if you don't get him at just the right moment.
It's kind of crazy how for an item at the top of this room, the game requires you to figure out the fact that parrying refreshes your double jump on one of these guys, which is a massive pain for a first-time player.
It's still a pain for us.
He's gonna hit me. That's brutal.
Yeah, still a pain for us. And the only place where they tell you that is in the loading screen tips. Which this game loads pretty fast. This game loads pretty fast, so it is difficult to read the loading screen tips or more than one at once.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like I got hit with some pretty rough RNG there because that's not usually a choke point for this run. Doing the skull kick skip to get up there is a choke point, but usually you're able to just very quickly detonate the green guy and set up the rest of the skip. But in this case, just the enemy placements were just a little bit unfortunate. And I didn't quite react properly. So let's go one more try. Hopefully that should be it. Fortunately, this doesn't lose much time every time I do this.
I mean, when just talking about this, RNG enemies at the end of run kind of sucks.
Why is he not aggroing on me right now? Okay.
Yeah. The run before
That
us,
looks
the
good.
run before us definitely got hit with a lot of that.
There we go. That's what that should normally look like, and then we can just get a parry against him. And once this enemy respawns, Skull Kick, Talisman, and we're through. I'll just need to quickly parry this guy. Alright, and we're through that section. A little bit rough, but we made it, and now we can just quickly get this third one here. And so after dropping this, we're going to be approaching the point of no return for this game, which is basically, in a second, we're going to reach the point where you have to complete everything, and we're going to trigger the end of the scene, the ending sequence of the game, after which we just can't go back to anywhere we previously were. So, there's going to be a few skips before that, so I'm going to grab a node here for safety, and also buy some of the skills that we took the Tau Fruit for. So, we'll open up the skills menu here. So, we're going to pick up Backlash, which is going to increase our Skull Kick and Tai Chi Kick damage. That's going to be very helpful for the final boss. And then the other skill I picked up there is Breathing Exercise, which is mostly a safety strat. It's going to allow us to recover internal damage every single time we parry, or perfect parry to be more precise, which really helps for some of these fights coming up and the final boss. Basically means that we can do internal parries as much as we want, and we'll just get that health right back from doing normal parries. Because otherwise you can get into awkward situations where your internal damage just gets maxed out and then you'll just instantly die to fire or something like that. Alright, so we're going to set up another skip here. This is a new use of ledge storage. We're going to try to get a wall cling. Ooh, okay. Yeah, there we go. And jump right off. As we call that a spider leap. So we're going to do another one just in a second to get through another awkward wall. Alright, and we are now at the point of no return of the game. So this is Igong's Soulscape. She's not going to just let us get the Soul Seal, it turns out. So actually, at this point, normally, you would have all the Soul Seals if you hadn't done any kind of speedrun skips. And fortunately for us, this sequence doesn't at all check that you have them, because we're going to walk up here, Igong is going to stop us, and she's going to steal all 8 of the seals from us, even though we only have 2 of them.
Guess the others just magically appear or something.
Yeah, exactly. The game just assumes that if you're here, you must have them all, which is really good
usually
for us,
the case.
Otherwise, it would be an extra 40 to 50 minutes of run, basically. Maybe less.
40 to 50-ish is pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
This is just all souls and seals.
Yeah, we have a separate category that does that. But yeah, so this is by far the longest cutscene in the game. It's about like 5 minutes of just text scrolling and just watching cutscene. So we'll probably take the opportunity to talk a little bit about what's coming up. So Igong is going to trap us in here, and she's going to go attack the pavilion and then try to take control of the, what's it called, New Kunlun Control Hub, which is the key to her evil plans, I guess. And so we're going to have to bust back out of here and go back to Pavilion to help out Chuan, who's been attacked, and also go fight her at the New Kunlun Control Hub. So at this point, fast travel is going to be disabled, so we're just going to have to backtrack our way fully out of here. This one next room is going to be especially rough. After that, it's kind of just smooth sailing. But we're going to have to fight several arenas full of enemies, one of which is probably the most notorious fight in this game, where we're going to be trapped in a hallway with enemies spawning non-stop, with no way out until just the end of the time expires. It's also interesting because in theory it would be optimal if we could just grab a ledge storage just before entering this cutscene, and then carry it through for the entirety of that cutscene. But that's actually extremely difficult because anytime you get hit, anytime you slash without doing an animation cancel, or anytime you do a parry without getting an animation cancel, you lose ledge storage. But we do need a ledge storage after that fight just to get over a ledge that's just slightly too tall for us to jump. So some categories are able to do this. For example, the story mode category that's allowed to just set damage sliders to max can just do that hallway with like single slashes at a time and just insta-kill the enemies. True Ending is also able to do that just because they have a lot more gear. But because we aren't going to be able to do that, we're just going to have to survive the fight as much as we can, which is already hard enough with our current gear. And then we're going to have to do another skip to get up to a place where we can get a ledge, because of course there couldn't just be a convenient located one for this section. So that whole skip also has a lot of history. For a long time it was thought to only be possible with 50 FPS, so we used to actually run this game at 50 FPS with frame limit, but we eventually found a new setup, so that's no longer necessary, thank God.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in this game that's dependent on like frame rate, which I don't know how much we're going into, but it's been a thing throughout the history. Alright, yeah, so I think we banned 50 now, right?
Yes, 50 FPS is now fully banned.
Finally, good riddance.
Yeah, so essentially, like, FPS in this game determines a lot of things for the aforementioned reason of RCG using their own version of Delta Time. And
yeah, so most of the physics are just totally different at higher, lower FPSs. But yeah, so I'm playing capped, which is why, I guess you see that 60 up in the corner, probably.
Yeah.
I probably should have turned that off, but that's okay. So yeah, cap, it helps us for a lot of skips. It gives us slightly higher jumps, which in some cases is relevant. But yeah, so we're finally freed from that cutscene. We're going to talk to Xuan one last time here, and then we're on to the hallway fight. Yeah, this is also going to be a focus moment for me, so I'm going to let the commentators talk. Oh, that was unlucky. Wow. Usually you're able to just kind of get through there, but fortunately that is basically no time loss, because I can just go right again. Yeah, I got
Could be a lot worse.
There. Yeah, I'd rather die there than in the fight. Yeah, see, that's how that usually goes.
But yeah, hallway, as he talked about, we can't reasonably do hitless hallway in this category because it's hard. But
yeah,
I think it's been done on restricted rule set once, right?
It's been done with the bow.
Yes, with the bow. I think it has literally never been done once with the gear that we have now. So yeah, as Zomboy in chat said, this hallway is very directly an Old Boy reference to the movie Old Boy. If you've ever watched it, you probably know exactly what scene it's referencing. But if you're noticing something strange here, which is the lack of HUD, that is not a bug. The game just turns off your HUD for this section because it looks cool. It's very annoying. It does look cool, but I'd very much prefer for probably the hardest enemy encounter in the game to have HUD. So Sun Tzu is trying very hard to keep track in his head, like how many key charges he has, how much health he has, if he has a ton of internal damage. Luckily, the screen border effect that shows up when you have low health, like if you have full internal damage, that still appears even without the HUD. So that can give him a pretty good idea of when he's like about to die. But generally, this whole section is just a massive test of like memorizing when enemies come out and learning how to deal with them. So yeah. The green exploding enemies are a massive asset to him in this section because when they explode, they kill every single enemy around them, which is basically the whole screen in this scenario. So it's incredibly important to time out when those guys explode very well, because the especially the small mutants, which we refer to as Hubert. Long story why we refer to them as Hubert, but they're just all Hubert.
There are two Huberts. There's the singular Hubert, and then we refer to all of them as Hubert as well.
Yeah, there's
again
the
whole
Hubert,
story.
Yeah, there's Hubert and then Hubert the Collective. And they have both a very, very long lunging attack and also a projectile attack that is incredibly oppressive and will, feels like a heat-seeking missile most of the time, because it.
Yeah, so we're gonna take a quick death warp here. That was intentional. Don't worry. We just need to reach the end of the hallway and have that gate open, fortunately, and that's gonna save our progress. So now we're going to try to get ledge storage and go back through it. Okay. Yeah, I didn't quite get the setup I wanted. It's possible to just get it with all these enemies on the screen. It's a lot easier to just kite these enemies over. Fortunately, the one that we need is too tall. And so we can just bait over the ones that would get in the way. Over to this section, and now those guys won't get in our way. So we're going to have a very precise setup here to try to get up. I'm going to have to parry. No. Yeah, really? I thought that was good. So yeah, super precise. You have to parry and get a skull kick at just the right time.
Yeah, this skip in particular is the singular reason why we thought we needed 50 FPS for this. Because on 50 FPS you jump a whole 3 units higher compared to 60 FPS. We thought that was absolutely necessary for the skip, and that is the whole reason why we allowed using 50 FPS in the first place. Well, that was until we realized that you just don't need it. But it's just still very difficult.
Oh boy, I thought that was good. But yeah, you need basically every input to be just at the right moment to get the maximum height out of your parry, your talisman, your skull kick. This is rougher than usual, but we got all the time in the world.
Yeah, this is probably this and the hallway fight is probably
okay, I got it. There we go.
Barrier.
So we're gonna dash across here. So we have our ledge storage finally. So something we haven't mentioned now is that in this next section, you're gonna get a save, and it's gonna save you in a spot where you can't get ledge storage. So if I die, it's just fully a soft lock, and it's impossible to finish the game. Fortunately, I do have a backup save if that happens, but hopefully we won't see that. Well, I almost died. That was something for sure. I had about 1 HP there. Alright, and we're through the soft lock section of the game. I might just take an intentional death here to get my HP back. Because we'll respawn right here. And now we have one last arena fight before we're out of this hellhole of an area. So I'm probably also going to focus on this one. This one, not nearly as rough as the hallway, but the enemies are kind of scary. They can surprise you. So yeah, I'll let my commentators talk over this.
Yeah, so this arena is what we kind of usually refer to as Arena 3 because it's the third arena in this area. On runs that get double jump, you can do a tech that we call ledge storage triple jump, which is kind of what it sounds like. You double jump, use the ledge storage, and then triple jump to get, and then jump again because the ledge storage refreshes your double jump, and that allows you to completely jump over the triggers of this arena.
Yeah, because this is one of the RCG way too low triggers. It's also really small because they didn't expect you to go over it, so it's a pretty easy skip if you are able to get double jump in the run.
Yeah. But since you don't, you have to. But since we don't in any percent, we have to fight this. Where this warden enemy is very problematic. And
Yeah,
also
I guess we didn't address it at all,
keywords.
but there was supposed to be a second arena between the hallway and what we just did, but I just jumped over it. That was a trigger. You
Yeah.
can just get up to that platform with a skull kick and just jump over the trigger, and you'd fully skip the arena. So, all right, so we're now out of here, at which point it's going to be smooth sailing until the final boss, pretty much. We can just kind of walk through this area, ignoring all the enemies. We have to be a little bit careful just because they've got a bunch of spikes on them, but we're never really going to die here. Worst case, we just take some damage and have to heal right before the final boss. But yeah, so we're going to be backtracking our way back to the pavilion here. We're going to hop into these boxes, which are going to send us all the way back to the area where we initially got Tai Chi Kick at the start of the run, at which point we're just about a minute away from reaching the final boss of this game.
And for whatever reason, we notably don't have to go back to the pavilion and actually save Shinjin.
Oh yeah, so
Yeah.
he calls us, telling us about how the pavilion's been attacked and, you know, everything's bad. But we're not getting the true ending right now. We don't care about Chuan Chuan. We're just gonna go fight the final boss.
He's a strong boy. He'll be fine.
He's okay.
Exactly. In the actual game, he is okay. I promise.
Yeah. He is okay.
Yeah, he's fine, but we're just not going to get the good ending by not going to talk to him. Plus, we haven't done any of the other requirements for true ending, so...
Yeah. The true ending run is also very cool, and it's insane that people run this game for that many hours at a time.
Yeah, it has some insanely cool skips, but it does have a lot of text, just because you have to talk to Chuan Chuan a lot to get the true ending.
Yeah. A lot of the categories that are not any percent, like for example, All Souls and Seals, I think we did a calculation on this. Load remove time, All Souls and Seals is 25% dialogue, and that is not an exaggeration. It is
It's painful.
yeah, it's painful, especially because for all that dialogue, you have to be holding down the button. You can't just set down the controller and take a breather.
Yeah, most cutscenes at least. Some of them give you a little break.
Yeah.
But, alright, we're gonna grab this node here. I'm actually full health, so I don't really need it, but if I die, that way I'll respawn here. And we are off to the final boss.
Yeah. Arcline, it is a lot of dialogue. I did a count using the translation spreadsheet that they made public, which is super awesome. The word count of this game is over 70,000, which is a lot of words.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah. I think Yi himself has like over 500 lines. Something like that.
The dialogue attributed to Xuan Xuan, which is basically conversations involving Xuan Xuan, is 940 text boxes. Just conversations attributed to Xuan Xuan. So yeah, coming up is the final boss, which is again another focus moment. Big grandiose cutscene before it. Very awesome fight, very awesome music. Anybody that has played this game will sing praises of the Agong fights, because for a lot of us, it's a massive part of the reason why we run the game at all. So
yeah. Like, I started running because of this fight, almost exclusively.
Yeah. So this fight, normally you're supposed to have the super parry, which is, well, the unbound counter. But we don't have that, so when she does the big Crimson Ball attack, we kind of have to just run behind her or away from her so we outrange it. Because she does track with it slightly. Actually, not slightly, she just tracks with it for a significant distance, but if you run far enough away, then we can avoid it.
Killed so many level 0 attempts.
Yeah. Speaking of level
should we
0,
talk about that?
Yeah, I suppose we have time. So level 0 is a kind of popular boss challenge. It's kind of it's like the hard individual challenge for this game, where I think the total number of completions is 20.
Yes, it is 20 currently.
Yeah, where basically we use a modified save file to beat the final boss with the true ending variation, which we are not seeing today. We use a modified save file to use only the abilities that we start the game with. So basically, it would be kind of like this fight, but we wouldn't have air dash. We would only have one talisman charge. No skill kick bosses. No
skull kick, no tai chi kick. It's very hard.
Most people's first attempts take like 20-ish minutes.
Yeah,
because you have incredibly low damage.
It's a fun challenge. It's also very cool to see this fight with Unbound Encounter, because I believe every other non-% category gets both Unbound Encounter and the Divine Hand Jade, which allows you to chain Unbound Encounters, and it's very flashy instead of kind of dragging on like this fight tends to because of only having sword.
Yeah. Again, if you have the time, watch a run of a different category, probably All Souls and Seals. It has a lot of very fun strats with Unbound Counter and many more skips that you don't even see in this run because well, we skip half the game, so there's a lot of very fun stuff that you don't see here. So yeah, you can see that in this fight he is kind of just working to get off as many talismans as possible, because Aegon gives you a lot of key charges, so you have plenty of opportunities to get talismans. Well, you have plenty of talismans to get off, but finding opportunities is very difficult. So you can see some of those strats like jumping through the downward slash and then talismaning and then doing a talisman away from her. They just squeeze in as many as possible to maximize DPS, because as I said during the G fight, she has 75,000 7,500 HP, which is the second highest total in the game, and she is significantly more evasive than G. So you have to really put the pressure on her with
I've
slashes.
seen many more mess ups. So compared to how long this fight is, actually relatively clean, especially since taking the fire. And he, at least I assume, is purposely getting lower because even though it doesn't actually matter, since we call time at the end of this fight, you can skip the dialogue after the fight by dying in the fire while she's dead.
But we probably will not be seeing that, because I don't think we're going for it.
Yeah, that was down to the wire, but we made it.
So
yeah.
Took a lot of fire damage. That's the scary thing with the fire, is you just kind of get hit by it throughout the fight, and it just slowly chips your HP. So that's time. Sorry if we didn't call it.
GG.
Very nice.
Thank you. Do we have the time on the run?
It's looking about plus or minus 113.30.
Yeah, that's not bad. I'll take that for sure.
That's not bad. I wonder what the load remove time would have been. Besides air dash pretty much and dying once after a minor skip, that was a very clean run.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Today
No boss deaths. That's kind of was my number one goal. No death to hallway.
Yeah. Is this the second time today you're gonna get world record on an unsubmittable run?
No, this shouldn't be world record.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did get an unsubmittable world record in practice earlier today, so. Yeah, so I guess should we do our sign-offs?
Yeah, give us take a little time, give us any shout outs, tell the good people where they can find you, if that's Twitch, YouTube, Discord, wherever. Take a couple minutes, celebrate the run, let everybody know about yourselves.
Yeah, so I'm Sun-Tzu. So you can find me on YouTube. That's pretty much it. You'll probably have to search Sun-Tzu 9 Souls, because otherwise you will not find me. Yeah, I mean, shout outs to the Nine Souls Speedrun Discord. This run is just the result of a lot of people working together to figure out all these crazy skips and just working on boss strats and everything. If you're interested in running this game, definitely just stop by. There's always people there ready to answer questions and help newcomers. Anything for my commentators you want to shout out? Where can people find you?
I mean, I agree with what he said. I guess I joked about talking about this, but I, along with some other people, including Sherpling here, run event stuff. I don't really know the best place to find a link for that, though.
Ask in the Speedrun Discord.
Ask in the Speedrun Discord, and I think we're announcing an event in the game's main Discord in like 2 days.
Yeah, 2-ish days. Also,
Yeah.
Lurks streams on Twitch. You should follow Lurks.
Yeah. Except I play this game like half the time.
Yeah. Well, you still play this game sometimes, and you still stream on Twitch.
Fair enough. That's all I got.
Yeah. So
you want to talk about collab or?
No, I don't think we need to discuss. I don't think we need to mention that here. Anyways, yeah, Dorn is right. Play level 0. We only have 20 completions. Maybe we can top 25. Who knows? So yeah, I am on YouTube. I suppose I have basically only posted runs on YouTube, and when I used to do runs, I did stream them on Twitch. So, but the last time was like 6 months ago, so might be a while until I start doing runs again. But yeah,
Well,
you can find me on YouTube and Twitch. Yeah.
Thank you all three for joining us. That was an amazing run. Super fun to watch. I've been looking forward to this for a while. If anyone doesn't know, Nine Souls is kind of a big ticket item in the indie Metroidvania community right now. Super excited that we got to see this, but don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back after a few minutes with Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It's going to be a short glitch-filled run. I'm super excited for it. So stick around. We'll be back, and we got another one coming up.
Thanks for having us. It's been a blast.
Yep.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Perilous Paths here on GDQ Hotfix. We've got one more amazing run for you in today's episode. We're doing Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, any percent normal mode, featuring Moist Goulash and their commentator, Cloud. How are the two of you doing today?
Quite good. Yeah, it's been a good Monday.
Doing all right myself. Super happy to be on here for another Zelda speedrun. And who better to show it off than Moist, an incredible Zelda speedrunner in his own right.
Thank you.
Amazing. Well, if you want to give us a quick little introduction about yourselves, what we can expect to see, and I know that we have a bit of a cutscene at the beginning, so if you want to give us a 3, 2, 1 and go from there, that works too.
Sure. Yeah, so I am Moist Goulash. I primarily run Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom for a little over a year now. And I'm excited to show this off. I'm going to be perilous, hopefully.
Go for it. Show us everything.
All right, well, we can probably jump into new game.
I'll start the game now.
Yeah, and I'm Cloud. I also primarily run Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom for a couple years now, and I've had the honor to have Moist on commentary for my own runs several times. And I'm also honored that he has asked me to return the favor today. Like I said, Moist is an incredible runner. He's top 5 in any percent for both these games. He's too humble to mention it, but I'll brag on his behalf. And this is a quite difficult run, and he's gonna give us a great showing.
Yeah, hopefully we'll hit all the hard tricks. So, including a new one.
True. And if we don't hit them, we've got backups, and we've got backups to our backups, and those backups have backups. Yeah. After that point, though, things might get a bit rough. If we had to go to Plan D or Plan E, we're probably running out of ideas there. Well, as we're loading in here... Mm-hmm.
Timing is on control, so I'll count 3, 2, 1, go. All right.
Good luck, have fun.
So yeah, we load in, we have to pick up the Sheikah Slate, and we're gonna do our first glitch literally in the first 40 seconds of the game. Right after this cutscene.
Mm-hmm. So there's a long hallway here with cutscenes and dialogue that we are too hyper attentive to sit through. So we're gonna perform a glitch called a scope clip, where Moist is gonna line up on a corner of the wall and aim the camera at a specific spot and spam the scope button to open the scope. And that'll displace Link's model through the wall, clipping him out of bounds, allowing us to get out into the overworld early and skip all those dialogue. This is a couple minutes of time save.
There we go.
Pretty clean, pretty quick. And we're already seeing our next glitch here.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is what we call whistle sprinting. It's a stamina preservation technique. If you hold down the whistle button and mash B, which is the sprint button, you can run while preserving stamina at basically full speed. Just a quick crouch and uncrouch, and we're already back in bounds on our way to the first of 4 shrines that we're going to have to complete to get out of the tutorial area of the game, the Great Plateau. Now we're going to see Moist perform a bit of a camera manip here to get these enemies to wander away from their weapons so we can grab some stuff. And get a little bit of backup food for some of the tricks we'll be doing later. A pot shield, this is going to come in handy for the entirety of the rest of the run. And a torch. And we're all geared out and ready to go. So what you're about to see here is a brand new world record implemented strat that has never been showed off in a live run before. This is what we call Bombs ESC, or Extended Shield Clip, which we'll explain. So first we're going to be doing another one of those scope clips at a precise angle to get through the wall of the Temple of Time and pick up a bow, which will enable another glitch that we also won't have time to explain now, but we'll get there, I promise, all in due time. This run is so fast-paced, we're going to have to speedrun the commentary as well. So Moist is going to line up for the scope clip here. Very clean, very fast. So we're going to grab this bow and break one of those pots to grab arrows, which will enable another trick that we're going to see here. This trick is so fast, again, we don't have time to explain it, so we'll just let Moist show off what Bowlift Smuggle Slide can do.
Yeah, just like that, we're already almost at the first shrine.
And he's going to perform a fall damage cancel here. Just a bit of an animation cancel that'll stop him from taking damage. We're going to perform a skew clip here, like we mentioned, to get into the shrine. Oh, got scammed on that one. Gonna have to set it back up. This is the frame perfect trick that he's gonna try to get quickly here.
There we go.
Very nice entry. And we'll be seeing that a couple more times. So if you missed the full explanation, we'll get around to it. Now this first shrine we're entering here is the Bombs Shrine. Each of the shrines is going to give us 1 of 4 abilities. We come here first because not only is it the closest to where we exit the Shrine of Resurrection, but bombs are also a very useful ability, as we're about to see here. We're going to be performing a glitch called a Wind Bomb, where we can abuse the slow-mo mechanics while Link is mid-air to launch ourselves through the air. This is Perilous Paths. This is for dangerous speedruns. And what could be more dangerous than flinging yourself at high speeds across the world with explosives?
Yeah, this particular one is one of the harder ones, I would say. You need a really, short angle so that you don't
the
bump
input
the
timing is
ceiling.
quite precise.
Ooh, okay.
Very close, very close. So just a quick backup here to bomb the wall. And just like that, we're at the end of our first shrine. So, what's coming up next?
Perhaps a old man?
Are you scanning? You're scanning, right? Please tell me you're not doing no amiibo. Okay, thank you.
No, I'm scanning. Yeah, no.
So you'll notice he's another little speed tech there. He's waiting to skip the cutscene until the text starts to fade out because it gives you a shorter load overall back into the overworld. Just an interesting manipulation of the load mechanics that this game has to save a couple seconds.
They fixed that in Tears of the Kingdom, actually.
They did. Oh, we got the lovely scream from the old man there and our lovely Italian voice acting. So, we're gonna skip through a bit of dialogue here. And we're going to be scanning amiibo. This is the time where we gamble for fish. If you've never seen anyone gamble for fish before, now's your chance, and you should feel lucky that you tuned in. We're going to be getting some attack fish for the 6-part boss rush at the end of the game, as well as just some. I'm sure Moist is going to pick up some backup food. Please tell me you're picking up backup food, right?
I hope for the hearty salmon. That's a real gamble.
Because if you notice on that wind bomb, he took a lot of damage, and if things go off a bit, you can take even more damage and potentially die. But having these fish can save a bad wind bomb and keep you alive.
Okay, we're picking everything up.
Yeah. Assembling a whole aquarium here. Hyrule fish restoration project. So here's that that slide glitch we mentioned briefly earlier. This is bow lift smuggle slide. That menuing Moist is doing to unequip the shield there. It allows Link to hold the bow and a bomb or any other object in his hand at the same time, which when you step up off a ledge puts him into a zero gravity state. And then by wiggling the joystick back and forth like you saw him wiggling there, that holded bomb will push Link at high speeds. This is a very fast movement method, and it's what we're going to be seeing for the rest of the run as we get around between our 4 shrines and then to cancel at the end of the game.
Yeah, you notice how I never got the tower, but I'm able to enter these shrines. So we're doing a trick called a skew clip, where we store a specific angle with your shield. And then the next time you do a shield surf and you unequip, Link will kind of like flinch right or left, and that allows you to clip through walls. Yeah.
And what we saw there was a slightly easier variant, where you only have to clip through one wall at a time. The one we saw at bombs earlier, that's an extended shield clip, and we got one more of those later in the run. So another frame perfect clip, but that one there is not quite as difficult. You just clip through 2 walls one at a time. And this setup here, this is going to be another world record optimized strat that we call Gamer Canal. Very tight inputs there, unfortunate. But oh.
My bad.
Just barely inside the blast radius. Well, hey, no, he's actually maniping so he can heal without having to use any of his backup food. See, this is optimal backup here. But yeah, just sends you back to the beginning of the shrine, and fortunately he has another chance to try again. Jumping in the water is also optimal because it makes Link all nice and refreshed. There we go, very nice. Oh, damages and the ragdoll cancel too. Very well done. And just like that, we're halfway done with the tutorial of the game.
Yeah, so on the tutorial part, we don't have the paraglider. So most of these wind bombs, you would take fall damage without like any source of fall damage cancel. However, inside shrines, there's specific ledges that are like high enough so that the height value stored is just like high enough so that he doesn't die, which is nice.
This slide here is one of the more difficult ones in the run. We're going so fast, you'll notice the game stuttering and struggling to keep up as we go through these world loads here, like this one right here, the game freezes. And Moist is going to have to navigate through this tight canyon and up this hill, trying to build enough speed that he can make it over that hill and also avoiding all these trees. Very good slide there. The world loads were a bit annoying, but very quick overall. And now we're going to be doing another wind bomb setup that we call a spider jump, where he's just going to scope aim there, drop the bomb in the tree, and all the way up the cliff. Very nice, very nice. And another quick shield clip into the shrine.
Ooh.
And then crouch on crouch back in. This one always scams me. So yeah, in case you haven't noticed, we're playing in French. French text is fastest, but we're also playing in Italian voice acting. There aren't a lot of voice lines in the 90% run, but that just ends up being the fastest combo to play in French text and Italian voice acting for any percent specifically.
That was recently found, actually.
Yeah.
The combo.
A whole 1 second time save in the final split of the run that no one ever thought was gonna have time save ever again. And Moist was actually one of the people that assisted in that discovery.
It was for the Italian old man. It was funny enough to play in it.
And it ended up being optimal, look at that. So we're going to skip this shrine with yet another wind bomb from off the bridge here. This one's also very precise timing and input. You'll notice a trend here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. I thought that lamp was gonna backboard you off into the void. But there we go. Yeah, you'll notice a trend here. These wind bombs, there's so many kind of delicacies that go into it. The placement on which you place your square versus your circle, how late or early you enter bullet time, how late you wait to detonate the bombs. And speaking of tight wind bombs, this is probably the most difficult one in almost any Breath of the Wild speedrun coming up. To get up top of this cliff, and it might take him a couple tries for this, but I believe. So let's let him focus up.
Nice.
I was trying to
First
manage
try.
expectations, but you hit a perfect cliff first try. Well done. So another BLSS step up off the slope here. We're gonna head into our last shrine, Cryonis. And you'll notice it's cold here. Link already took half a heart of cold damage and a full heart from that wind bomb. So we're gonna need to do a wind bomb inside the shrine, meaning this next ESC, extended shield clip, like we saw at bombs, is gonna have to be pretty quick if we want to avoid using backup food and stay optimal. So another quick skew setup and frame perfect re-equip. First try, very clean. Very nice cryo entry.
Holy.
How are you feeling?
Pretty good, pretty good.
How's the nerves? Are they kicking in for boss rush yet?
Perhaps.
Just don't think about it. Just don't think about it. So here we're going to be getting Cryo, the objectively least useful rune in the entire any percent run. I don't think we use Cryo a single time, do we?
No.
Unless like you really mess up during like Water Blight or Calamity.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And you have to play the block breaking minigame. Anyways, here's another wind bomb here. Off the rebound, very clean, right in front of the monk. This is probably my favorite shrine wind bomb of the run. You can get a nice bounce right off that wall like Moist just did there. And just like that, we're already done with the tutorial. Can we get some hype in chat for our runner, Moist Goulash? He's put on an incredible clinic here for a Great Plateau speedrun. Just one final slide back to the Temple of Time, and we'll be getting the paraglider, and we'll get our ticket off the Great Plateau. And just as was billed in the description, we're going to be heading straight to the end of the game at Hyrule Castle.
We're also getting our fall damage cancel at home version, so that we don't have to fall damage cancel every time.
The premium, the DLC fall damage cancel. I like how in in Tears of the Kingdom speedruns, they don't give you the paraglider for free like they do here. So there's a lot of categories for that game that don't even get it. You have to do a fall damage cancel glitch every time. But Breath of the Wild, they were nice enough to give us the glider for free. And he's going to be doing a few complicated inputs here. We're going to get ready for the fall damage cancel. Yeah, you blew it up way early.
Yeah, my bad. Wow.
I was like, that angle looked really good. Just don't blow up the bomb too early and oh. I hope it doesn't put you back inside the shrine. Oh my god. What if it does that? Some of the auto games, the autosaves can be really finicky in this game sometimes. Okay, we're good. The bombs have a vendetta against you today.
Yeah, wow. Can't believe them.
It's true. I mean, hey, technically you didn't take fall damage. You took bomb damage. A little bit more lethal.
There we go.
Nice. And we're throwing away that torch. We're not going to need it anymore. This is just to save an item text that we get if we swapped. Just a couple of cutscenes and more text to mash through here. And there's our paraglider. Wonderful, wonderful. And like we mentioned, we're going to be performing one more bow lift smuggle slide to get to castle. Now, I think we can probably talk a little bit about the route that we'll be taking through castle. So what's coming up?
So we gotta fight all the bosses somehow, because if you don't beat the bosses in their divine beasts, they all kind of team up on Link at castle. So we gotta get some weapons. That's kind of like the idea behind this castle routing is getting a bunch of strong weapons. And before we go
you're not gonna do the pulse skew dupe?
No.
Not this time. Maybe next hotfix feature.
Yeah.
So on our way to castle, we're sliding so fast. You'll notice that even Link's cursor on the minimap is displaced. What we're aiming for here is there's a gate that's normally locked below at the bottom of castle here. We're trying to slide in so fast that it doesn't load in before we can just kind of sneak our way through. So he's going to dismount here. Just a little bit of a load manip. See if we get lucky. Very nice. And that'll save about 30 seconds over having to go around. And now we're just going to kind of help the game load in a bit. Snipe this mob, and we're going to be picking up a couple weapons in this room. And then making our way to the next room to grab a couple more. And then heading basically straight up. So yeah, this, like Moise mentioned, this route for castle is very highly optimized. And there's been some theory crafting going on currently to see how we can make it even faster. And there's good options, but this route is just so good.
Yeah, it's already
so
too
fast.
good.
It's really optimized almost down to the individual hit for each durability. As you know, this game is famous / infamous for having a weapon durability mechanic where weapons do break and get brittle after enough hits. And with the bosses having so much HP, we really need to take advantage of these strong two-handed weapons that have good durability, high attack, and can also get in a lot of hits at once by spinning with the weapon. So another little sneak strike manip here to grab this boomerang, and now we're going to cook our attack food. And now we'll be seeing one more scope clip. We're going to get out of bounds here in castle and perform a series of a couple wind bombs here. This one's a mid-air, very stylish trick here. Perfect. And we're going to land on this roof out of bounds. One more wind bomb up to Zelda's room. And then just one more sneak strike manip here. Sneak strike is very powerful at this early stage in the game because hitting an enemy from the back while they don't see you in stealth mode, it does quadruple damage, 4 times damage multiplier, and with a weapon that has like 50 attack power, that's 200 damage, enough to take down pretty much any of these strong enemies that we see, endgame enemies we see in castle. Very clean castle routing from Moise. Just got one more wind bomb left of the run over to Sanctum. And we'll be setting up our first, our next major trick of the run. This is Wind Blight skip. So the first of the 4 blights, Wind Blight, is incredibly annoying to fight. Thankfully, we can skip him altogether by lining up in a specific spot and aiming an arrow at a specific spot. What's going to happen is Moise is going to buffer, launching an arrow into the cutscene trigger. And after skipping the first cutscene, this arrow is still loaded in, and it still has a hurt box, and the boss has a hit box. So you'll notice him kind of wiggling around like that. He's going to be taking constant damage from this arrow, which is invisible but embedded right in his head. And if the positioning was good, he's down. Just like that. 1 down for 3 to go.
And note that we also eat the attack up, which gives us a 1.5 damage modifier.
I think it's 1.3.
Something like that. So it helps us.
Yeah, we've got just over 3 minutes of attack food. And barring any major mistakes, that should last us through the rest of the boss rush. Now, Water Blight here, we just saw some quick spins there. We're going to be going for what we call double hits on a lot of these bosses, where if you initiate a Claymore spin and then face backwards or pivot backwards, you'll get in double hits. Which will just allow you to kill each boss quicker. This is one of the hardest parts of the boss rush right here, getting the optimal Water Blight cycle. Getting these 2 headshots in a row to make him fall. Grabbing the boomerang that he threw earlier and then trying to get these double hits in before Water Blight can get up. Getting a quick slam. Very well done. He took a little bit extra time to position, which was the smart play here. Now, Fire Blight, we're going to be going for the same thing here. He likes to attack very quick, so you got to get in. Ooh, that was scary. Perfect slam timing by Moise there.
There you go.
Very well done. So you can get what's kind of like called like a supercharge, or I don't know if there's an official name for it, but getting 3 spins in before slamming is enough to kind of charge up your spin attack and stun the boss. And so we want to give them as little opportunities to attack as possible, because not only is it dangerous, but of course it's slow if we have to dodge their attacks. Now this phase here requires a very specific standing position. And Moist is going to try to get in hits as he rises, targeting so Link aims upwards, getting hits on the body and the arm. Oh, got slightly scammed there. Just one more hit and he'll be down. Very nice. And we're already into the last of our Blights. This is Thunder Blight. I imagine a lot of you, myself included, probably struggled with Thunder Blight in your casual playthrough, but we're going to make quick work of him here. 5 hits with double spins. And you've got less than a second to spare here. The cycle's very tight. Getting a couple more hits. And as we end the phase with him mid-air with the shield broken, that's a manipulation, so that his shield will respawn at the perfect time that we can instantly break it again during our attacks. And then getting some spins to finish off the phase here. He's going to drop these metal pins from the ceiling and we're going to completely ignore it. Come over and grab our boomerang and break his shield. Snipe him down with an arrow. Grab the boomerang as we're running, get in a lunge attack. Cancel that and then spin to win. Clean work. Alright, now we're really going to let Moist focus up here. You got this. This is the most intense part of the run, the final boss of Breath of the Wild, Calamity Ganon. Not even half an hour in, we're already taking him down. And we took a very fast route through Castle, which means we don't have a lot of gear to fight him. So we're going to have to make the most out of all the weapons we can here. Quick flurry rush with the boomerang to start off. Now there is some gear in the back of the room. We're still collecting gear. That's how optimized this route is. And we're going to try to get in headshots with all 10 of these bomb arrows on Calamity. Headshots do double damage. And with our Royal Guards bow, high damage. We're going to be grabbing that Claymore from the back too. Try to get in a laser parry. Very nice. That's the scariest part of the run right there, in my opinion. Getting that tight laser parry. Spins with our Claymore. Quick throw. Throwing a weapon and breaking it on the enemy also does double damage. So very nice there. And then unloading our 3 ancient arrows. Almost optimal. Only need 1 boomerang hit. Very clean there. Now let's hope for a quick laser. This is RNG, but we got a good manip. Or it's not a manip, I guess.
The bomb.
The bomb in the way. I was worried for a second you were gonna like trip on it or something. So, last major trick of the run here. This is the Calamity Phase 2 stun lock. He does that get up animation right there. Oh, we good. Yeah, you're good. So you want to get in these as much hits as you possible, going for triple hits here. And if you get a full charge, again, that's 3 spins and then a slam. While he's getting up, right before he finishes his get up animation, he'll instantly get stunned again. And so you can see Moist just did that over and over again. And with 40 seconds on the attack timer to spare, just like that, that's the final boss of Breath of the Wild taken down. We've got one more boss coming up. This is the secret 6th part of the boss rush, Dark Beast. It's more of an interactive cutscene. We just get to take a little victory lap and celebrate that amazing run that we just saw from Moist Goulash. Let's give it up in chat for him. Are you gonna do the bow spin thing?
Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. That bomb, it tried to trip us up one last time at the end of Calamity.
For Dark Beast, there's actually audio cues to pre-fire your shots, saving frames, somewhat like that.
So Moist is going to be listening to the background music, this lovely theme, to know when to shoot. Right as Zelda makes the weak points appear.
Have you thrown a run to Dark Beast before?
I've done practice to Dark Beast, but not a run. Well, I guess technically, not a pacer. I'll put it that way. I haven't thrown a pacer to Dark Beast.
Ooh. Just got a speechless, which is
I see. Frame perfect. Yeah, very well done. Could we go 2 for 3?
Perhaps.
The music cue actually resets here, which is nice. This is probably, I think, the easiest speechless to get. Hey, player 5 hit this speechless in world record. You got to do it.
I probably hit the hardest one. The second one.
Yeah, I agree. I think the second is the hardest because it depends on the timing of your first one.
Yeah. Oh,
Almost. All right, and we're coming up to the end of the run.
time will be on hitting the eyeball.
Once we get an explosion, that's Breath of the Wild complete. Thank you all so much for coming out to support Moist in this incredible showing.
Thank you, thank you. And time.
Time. GG. Congratulations on a very clean run.
Thank you. Besides the bomb deaths, you know.
Well, if you want to go ahead and share with all the wonderful people where they might be able to find you, see more of your content, or anything else, now is the time to do that.
Yeah, so you can find me streaming live on Twitch, twitch.tv/moistgoulash. Cloud?
And you can find me on twitch.tv/cloud with 2Ds. I'm running this category right now, as well as Tears of the Kingdom 90%. Doing a back-to-back. I'm getting ready for a marathon. I'm going to be running those 2 runs back-to-back at a Midwest Speed Fest. So if you'd like to come check out some high-level gameplay from Moist, go over to his channel, and some mid-level gameplay from me, come check out mine.
No.
But yeah, oh my god, thanks so much for having me on. I'm really glad I could repay the favor for all the times you've helped me out on commentary.
Oh yeah, for sure. Thank you everyone for watching.
Yeah, thanks for having us on. It's been a blast.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure, and what an incredible opportunity to see some new strats that apparently have never been shown live. I am privileged and honored that it was done here on Perilous Paths. I did try to turn my camera on if anyone saw that on the stream, and I'm not going to try to do that again because of whatever happened. No one wants to see a close-up of my chin. But I do want to say thank you to everyone who's been on the show today. That is Lunatic, Sun Tzu, Sherplung Lurks, and of course, Moist Goulash and Cloud. Thank you all so much. But without further ado, actually, no, can't. One more shout out has to be had, which is for my amazing production partner, Ray, and all of the hard work that they do. But without further ado, we do have another show coming up, and we are a little bit over. So make sure you stick around for Hidden Heroes hosted by Anarchy right after this quick little break. And a PSA, tomorrow is April Fool's Day. Don't get caught by something funny or something stupid. Just throwing that out there. But stick around after the break, wait for a few minutes, stretch, grab some dinner, whatever you need to do. Don't go anywhere. Hidden Heroes is coming up right after the break.